Merry Christmas. I'm not sure why I'm working today. I don't know why I decided to work one day this week. This is my last show of the year, so I am here. I have nothing planned. Brent thought we were off today, so he's not here with me. So jump in and join us. Might be very quiet today. We'll see. Phone lines are open, 855-950-3835. It is a free-for-all. We can talk about anything you want today. I have almost nothing, so hopefully the phones will start ringing here. Couple things, couple announcements I can make. I have a couple things maybe I could talk about. We'll see. We have some sales going on. Great time to order some nuts and nut butter from Old Dog Ranch or Burroughs. When you do, we're going to throw in a free pumpkin spice almond butter. That stuff is so good. It's really good on bananas. If you're eating fruit, I eat fruit every day. If you're eating fruit, it's really good on bananas. It's really good on monkey brittle, too, which is bananas as well. All you have to do is order $60 worth of Burroughs or Old Dog Ranch and then throw in the pumpkin spice in your cart, and you'll get it free. That's good until the 27th. CMC registration is now open. The CMC Certified Master Carrier is now officially a part of the Mid-America Truck Show. We're very excited to be part of the show now. So you can register at the Mid-America Truck Show site, which is truckingshow.com. You can go to letstruck.com, click on events, and then truck show, and you will see all the details there as well. That'll take you to registration. The CMC is now a hybrid program, so you're going to get 2 days of live CMC at Mid-America. You can do just that event, or you can skip that event if you just can't make it. The CMC is now a year-long hybrid program. So you can be at the live event, which I would highly recommend. And last year it sold out, and we didn't really start promoting it till really late last year. Like, I think we were within a month of the show by the time we got the registration up, and we still sold out. So we have a limited amount of space at this event. Space and putting on events has gotten really, really expensive. We haven't done a CMC. Well, we did last year, and last year we found out it was kind of sticker shock. We had been doing the CMC since 2005. The prices on doing events has just gone through the roof. So we've now made it a hybrid program. So for an entire year, you will get at least a 2-hour webinar every other week. So you get 26 2-hour webinars. 50 plus hours. I cover everything I can possibly cover. We do some Q&A in there, but some weeks we do more than others. Some weeks I can barely get all my material in 2 hours. So a lot of people are combining the coaching program and the CMC. So they have the CMC time to listen and learn, and then they have the coaching program to get all their questions answered. I'll spend as much time as I want. So make 2025 your best year ever. Whether you're thinking about buying a truck and getting started, this program covers everything you could want to know about that process. Or you're looking to get your own authority. Maybe you've had a truck for a while. You want to get your own authority. We certainly cover all of that. And if you're looking to expand into a fleet, we do that as well. So get signed up. I would do it here pretty quickly. Like I said, you can go to letstruck.com or truckingshow.com. I've got some calls coming in. One other thing, today is my only day I'm working. I won't be back till the 2nd. Based on the weather, I'm probably going to do a lot of reading during that time and get caught up. Yesterday was one of those days. It was cold and raining all day. I built a fire in the fireplace and just decided to read for pure enjoyment. So I'm going to make a book recommendation, but I'll tell you, you're probably only going to really enjoy this book if you really love books and stories. You know, a lot of the reading I do is for learning purposes. But when I read, I love to read for just pure enjoyment. I've been doing it my whole life. This is a book about books and authors and old books and rare books, and it's called The Lost Bookstore. Really, a really good read if you just love a good story, and if you love books, it's just a bonus. Check that one out. Excellent writer. First, Evie somebody, I forget her name, she's Irish. This book, when I read the description of this book, I'm not sure why I decided to read it, but I did, and I thoroughly enjoy it. I guess I decided to read it because it had so many good reviews, and I really love the author's writing style. So it was one of those books that I just knocked out one day. I got it yesterday on my Kindle and finished it before the day was over. Just a really enjoyable read. All right, let's... did I have anything else? I don't think I did. I'm doing a lot of thinking about 2025. I am excited for 2025, more excited for a new year to start than I've been in a long time. But I've said many times I'm cautiously optimistic. I think a lot of things could go really right in 2025. I think there's some good trends that I like that we're seeing. The big question is politics. Will this turn out the way we really expect it to? Could we have some sort of big world event that derails this? That's my kind of hesitation. But other than that, I think 2025 could be a great year. So we have all of our programs in place to help you make sure 2025 is a great year. So engage with us and stay tuned. We've got a lot coming up. All right, let's get to some phone calls. Let's go to Massachusetts. Todd, welcome.
Hey, Ken.
Good. You're kind of your audio's not all that great.
Okay, all right, I had to pick up my phone. I was trying to do it down below.
Much better.
So, great, good. So I just a really quick primer or something. I don't know if you can recall too much about me, but I'm the paleo guy. I'm hardcore now for at least 3 years and maybe 4 years, and I really do everything pretty much right, and including cold showers, and I've been doing that even as the seasons changed. I noticed, believe it or not, that the shower water is colder because it comes from a tower nearby, and it's enough to turn my skin pink.
Oh,
and,
there you go. Good.
Yeah, it's a big. It was so noticeable. Anyway, the part of the reason I mentioned that cold is because it's a stressor, and if you remember, I did end up going to see Dr. Wolfson about it. I didn't see him. It was by the computer, and it wasn't
right.
him. But about a year and a half ago for AFib, and last night I was just sitting in my chair, and it started again. And I know you're not a doctor, you don't give medical advice, but I'm really curious what you think. And my only suspicion is because I am a pretty clean living person. Is maybe it's a caffeine thing, and I don't drink too much caffeine, but like 20 ounces maybe, but maybe more some days, and chocolate.
So when you say the AFib came back, is this just a symptom or a feeling or are you measuring this with something like an Apple Watch or something that can measure AFib?
No. The first time I did, but I since got rid of that Apple Watch. And I went to the emergency room. This time, if it happens to you, there's like, I don't know how to describe it. There's a little bit of pain right in center mass, where they teach you to shoot, and the heart was racing, and
just one thing I always like to clarify when somebody goes through something like this: any chance it's some sort of a panic attack?
Well, It is the holidays. I'm glad you asked it. You don't know how good a question that is. I'm glad you asked me. I wasn't necessarily going to get into it, but I'm sitting now. I called you about inward-facing cameras. I was that crazy call a couple of weeks ago, and so it's been on my mind way more than. So, part of the reason I got rid of my Apple Watch was because of the privacy thing.
Yeah.
It's been on my mind. I'm watching a thing about a very special kind of wool that I happen to own, and it was a gator. And as soon as I saw the gator, it made me think of work and the inward-facing camera. And then, because I got a gator ready to go to not be on the camera, and then it started. I did have.
So it could be a combination of the caffeine and some panic attack kind of thoughts. It feels virtually identical. The symptoms are all the same. Most of the AFib is one of those weird things. It just seems to show up over time with all of the other aspects of the standard American diet. You gain weight, you get metabolic syndrome, you have insulin resistance, then you start seeing your liver numbers go and your kidney numbers go. You've got some heart issues. It's all part of that lousy lifestyle and diet we've been eating for decades. And it just kind of develops. And then as people eat healthy, it just kind of disappears. That just seems to be the way this happens. And for somebody like you that has worked really hard at this, I would almost think this is an event, not a condition.
Okay, I like that a lot. Yeah. Right now I'm not in the mood to do the cold shower thing, but I do it absolutely religiously, and so just let it go.
I might take a break from any. So the stress protocol that I put together primarily is designed to put you in extreme stress. Remember that this is not a, sit back and chill and relax and meditate kind of program. You could do that. That's the kind of stuff you should be focusing on. The Wim Hof breathing can be very relaxing, but it's also stressful at the moment you're doing it. So remember, this one is designed primarily to build your stress resilience. So we're triggering a pretty severe stress response. So if you're possibly having some sort of a panic attack or even too much caffeine, then you want to go the opposite way. You want to go the mindfulness route. You want to do some meditation, some deep breathing, build a fire and chill for the day, that kind of stuff.
Okay. All right, and that's what I'm going to do. I happen to have the week off too, so I can do whatever I want. And,
Perfect. I would lean towards the less stressful activities and maybe take a break on the stress protocol itself.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll do that. I want to throw in there. I don't think it's related to AFib, but I just because I want to talk about it. I added a Berkey filter into my water. Good. I just switched over to it, and it made an enormous, really a 180 difference, and I was already feeling good, and it made a big difference in, and so I totally recommend it to anyone. Not necessarily Berkey, but
Are you on? Well, Berkey's a great filter, no doubt. I mean, Berkey has a great reputation amongst the natural health world. They're really well built. Their quality. I had a question. What was it? Oh, all right. What is your source of water? Is it city water, well water?
Well, it's I call it city water. It's not an actual proper city, but I've been drinking gallons from spring water from Hannaford's for a few years, and once I compare the taste of that gallon to the taste of the Berkey, I spit the water out. It really was, it's a big difference. And my cap. Go ahead.
Well, this whole spring water thing or bottled water, we have to be really careful of. Many sources of bottled water, it's just a municipal water supply somewhere. It might be filtered, but it might have a bunch of other stuff in there we don't really want. Well water, depending on where you live, you have to be careful with well water too. I think people should either test their water and know what they're dealing with and filter it, or just filter it really well and don't worry about testing it because your source is your source. But there are things in water that could potentially trigger this.
Yeah, it's all, and the plastic. It was that's all I could get. It was like a plastic case when I was drinking out of the Hannaford after having tasted the Berkey water. I will say that I did spend the extra $100 and got an arsenic and what is it? An arsenic and I'm going to say arsenic and lead. Fluoride.
Fluoride.
And I tested it. I drank the water without those filters on there just as a test, and there's an enormous difference in taste. So if anyone's out there, I would get all of the filters that come with it. And I want to tell you this, that I've been giving my cats, unfortunately, tap water for a long time, and I just gave them the choice, the regular tap water or the Berkey, and the regular tap water is collecting dust, and so I only give them the Berkey. You know, it's
the cats are smarter than we are.
It's really something.
I know. Well, this topic has really kind of been my focus for the last month or so, and probably will be for a little while. The idea that I've given up on the fact that we can avoid toxins. It's nearly impossible. I mean, I live in one of the cleanest parts of the country for a reason, and I live out away from the cities, and the homestead is even further out. The water's clean, the air's clean. There's just not a lot of human activity anywhere near, and we have huge trees. Trees are like great filters. The water's clean, but that's not. And even then, it's not clean like it was 100 years ago. Not even close.
Right.
And then you start looking around the rest of the country, and we just can't avoid the toxins anymore. They're everywhere. So now my goal is, how do we at least minimize them? Like we have switched over all of our cleaning products, all of our personal care products. Everything is just as clean and non-toxic as it can possibly be. But I'm still working on a kind of a mild detox protocol. A couple different detox pathways, and maybe do it once a quarter. I have a feeling like you experienced changing your water and feeling better. Something that simple. I have a feeling if we really work to kind of clean up the toxins around us and then detox once in a while, that we're going to see it. I think we're going to see better results all around.
Yeah, no question. And speaking of water, a couple of calls ago, I called all gung-ho about castor oil, right? And I still use it, and it's amazing for the skin. Any like little red welts or weird shit you got on your face. I'd say that the castor oil took out up to 90% of it. And then when I switched to the water, it looks like I got hit with a pellet in the head, like 1,000 years, like 40 years ago or something. But the water took out that little bit of pinkness that was left. And so I don't know, it's the ultimate it's the ultimate solvent, right, in terms of humans. And I just, I'm really gung-ho about water quality, and it's worth trying to figure out how to do it in a truck. And so
absolutely,
carry their gallons.
Speaking of that, I don't know if you've heard me mention it. I've mentioned it a couple times, and I've got it on my list. I'm curious about really researching it. Have you heard me talk about DMSO?
Yeah, dimethyl sulfoxide. Yeah, I know a little bit about it. I read at least a book or a chapter about it.
Yeah. Growing up, this would, I say 80s, but actually it would have been in the 70s, because I was still in high school when I first, and I had a weird story about it. One of my friends, his father was one of those, pushed him on everything, just constantly. And I was always competing against him my whole life. We raced motorcycles together. We wrestled. We were around the same weight class. But his father pushed him relentlessly He was just one of those parents. Yeah, and so he was always hurt. He was always, injured, and because he was being pushed so hard. And then his dad started putting this DMSO on muscles and joints that were hurting. And he said it was incredible. The pain went away. He could, work out even harder. One night, though, we were going out, and Mike was his name. And we were out. We were drinking a little bit, not a lot. It was pretty early in the night still. And the next thing I know, he is just trashed. And I'm like, what happened?
Oh.
And I can't even make any sense out of what he's saying, and it's so bad. I don't know if I should take him to the hospital. Finally, I called his dad, and we're talking, and I said, look, we were drinking, but not a lot. Something's going on. He had cleaned the area with rubbing alcohol and then put the DMSO on, and I guess the DMSO will carry the alcohol right into the bloodstream. That's one of the things that it does. Is it absorbs really fast, and if you put it on too soon, rubbing alcohol evaporates pretty quick. But I guess the way he did it, it was bad. But then, am I wrong? Isn't this used as an industrial solvent? It seems to me like I remember using DMSO on the helicopters when I was in the Army, and it was like a crazy powerful solvent.
Yeah, I think it's first cousin to the history of seed oils. I can't remember enough about it, but it definitely has its genesis in the like you said, in the industry somewhere, and it wasn't necessarily for human consumption.
And it was really popular for a while during the 70s, and it just disappeared. Now I'm following some health practitioners that I respect. They believe a lot of the same stuff I do, but a lot of people are promoting this now as a really effective painkiller, and I guess it's good for all kinds of skin conditions. But I'm thinking, are these people really recommending we put an industrial solvent on and in our body? And I guess they are, because it's a very I guess. I still need to do a lot of research about it. I'm confused.
Yeah. And castor oil is miraculous, but it also, you can make ricin from it if you know what you're doing. So
right.
It's one of those things. It's just one of those things. So really quick about the DMSO and going through the skin and increasing the alcohol effect. I heard this story. I'm almost sure, and someone on your show mentioned her name. It's Barbara O'Neill. She's a naturopathic doctor. I took a course from her in 2015, a week long. Anyway, I think it was her that told all of us the story of a man who was such an alcoholic, right, that he couldn't drink anymore, or he couldn't drink because he had just had a trach done because he was a smoker and he had a hole in his throat or something. Like, I can't remember the details, but this is the way I took it from Barbara. She doesn't joke around. What this man and his wife just came up with, I'm not making this up, is he rolled himself into like a backflip position, and she put a funnel in his backside and poured alcohol in. Because it can't make that up. Yeah. And because of it bypassed the liver and the kidneys, he died. Yeah, well, it was pure poison, and that's
alcohol.
That's how poison alcohol is. It's full of poison.
It's extremely toxic to the human body. There's just no doubt about it. There are a couple other interesting cases around this. One, I've said that I'm kind of fascinated with the subject of addiction, and one of the shows that I watch, I've learned a lot, is Intervention. It's been on for years. There have been a couple cases. I didn't realize this. Sometimes an alcoholic can become so bad. And these were people who could not go more than like 4 hours without alcohol. If they did, they'd go into seizures and tremors and all kinds of crazy stuff. But then sometimes they get so bad that their liver won't process the alcohol anymore. And even tiny amounts of alcohol keep them, their blood alcohol level goes up into the 3s and 4s, and they stay there. Yeah. Their body will not metabolize the alcohol anymore. At that point, they're almost dead. I mean, at that point, their body is in such bad shape. But then there's another weird situation that has gotten a lot of people in trouble. Not a lot, because it's fairly rare, but I've seen cases where people develop a certain gut bacteria, and that it's yeast-based, I would believe, and it starts fermenting sugars and carbohydrates into alcohol. Just like when you brew beer or wine, you're converting the sugar into alcohol. That's the fermentation process. Well, these people develop enough dysbiosis that they've got such wonky gut bacteria that their gut bacteria starts converting sugars into alcohol. They get drunk they haven't had a sip of alcohol, and they're trashed. And their blood alcohol level goes up. They've lost jobs over it. They get DUIs, and then they have to try to prove that they absolutely were not drinking.
You know, a lot of people out there who are nurses who work in hospitals, I know this is because I have a house in Cape Cod, and the Cape Cod Hospital, they have a term, and it's not official, but it's called, what is it? Not quite, DN. It means not NQR. It means not quite right.
Yeah.
And my theory is you see these people all the time, but they're not quite right. And it's like they're slightly drunk.
Yeah.
And they don't drink alcohol. You're right, but their stomach contents are constantly fermenting. And these are the people that we see that are just kind of slow, but they're normal, but they're slow.
That'd be interesting
they're not
to know.
quite right.
Yeah. That could be the case.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's severe.
Yeah.
Like these people are trashed, and nobody can figure out why. It's that gut bacteria is powerful stuff.
It sure is. Hey, before you I know sometimes you just got to blast it. I want to make sure I say Merry Christmas on the air to you, just in case.
Well, and I am going to move on because calls are starting to pile up.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Kevin.
Merry Christmas. Talk to you next year. Let's go to Lost Wages. Ron, welcome.
Hey, good morning, Kevin.
Good morning. What's on your mind today?
I was wondering if you were going to be on today. I tapped the app and you were on, and I was at AmFest this weekend. I heard Donald Trump's speech yesterday where he talked about taking back the Panama Canal. Have you heard anything about that?
It's just the headlines. I was actually looking at the headline this morning. I didn't read any news this morning, but I was looking at some headlines. It says, Trump responds after Panama's president refutes idea U.S. could regain control of key canal. So it sounds like Trump made a comment about it, and then the Panamanian president said, it's not going to happen, but we'll see.
We're going to get it back. No problem. Donald will take care of it.
Hey, speaking
and another thing you talked about, what?
Speaking of which, since you brought up Trump, did you see his? You talk about the art of the deal, a master negotiator. Did you see him with the CEO from? What's the name of that company? Something Soft. It's a big hedge fund. No, I can't remember. He was this really short, older Asian guy, which made it kind of funny because he's standing next to Trump, and it looked like I would be standing next to him. He looks really short, and Trump's going after companies and hedge funds that will invest $1 billion into the U.S. economy. And Keysoft? No, I don't know what it. Anyway. This guy announces, this Asian guy says, yes, I'm so confident, now that President Trump has won, we're going to invest $1 billion. We're going to create 100 million jobs, I think is the number. And he's happy and he's smiling. Trump reaches over, shakes his hand, looks at him and says, I want you to make it 200 billion. In front of everybody in a huge press conference. And the guy you can see the shock on his face. He did not know this was coming. And he busts out laughing because he doesn't know what else to do. What are you going to say? Trump's holding your hand, shaking it in front of the cameras and all these people. And he just puts you on the spot. And then Trump even makes a comment like, I know you can afford it. Yeah, and the guy keeps laughing, and then finally he says, I'll try to make that happen. It was just hilarious to watch. 200 billion.
That's why I say we're getting the Panama Canal.
Yeah,
back.
exactly.
And
He's not playing
also
games this
talked
time.
Right, and he talked about McKinley, because McKinley was assassinated, and he said that, and McKinley was the one that got the Panama Canal going, and he said he's going to change the name of they canceled Mount McKinley, years ago, and he said he's going to change that back to Mount McKinley, and then he talked about all kinds of good things that are going to happen in the future, because the rest of the world believes in Trump. I'm telling you. They do.
There definitely seems to be a movement. It seemed like for a while a lot of foreign nations were just running amok. They were kind of doing whatever they felt like doing, invading other countries, threatening other. I mean, it's been a mess for the last 4 years in the world stage, and all of a sudden it's like they're all getting back in line.
Because they know that he's going to make everything better for everybody.
He's not going to. I'm pretty sure we could confidently make the statement, even though Trump is not president yet, and he's only been president-elect for a short period of time for the most part, and yet I would say much, much more positive stuff has happened in the last 4 months than has happened in the last 4 years.
And you're right, and you're absolutely right.
And he's not the president yet.
I know everybody's happy about it. The first thing I got to tell you about is an artist named Seth Witz. He was at the second Butler rally when Elon Musk showed up there in Pittsburgh Power, up there by Pittsburgh Power, right? And SethWitz.com, go look at it. He had an acrylic painting that he did that he was going to give to Donald. He was going to give it to Donald, after he arranged. Anyway, it's Seth Witz. It's great print. He's a great guy. He had another print that was of Elon Musk that he did since the rally. And another guy I talked to there that your audience probably knows is Mike Church.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. You know who Mike Church is?
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah.
He was on XM.
Does he broadcast out of
has a show.
Cincinnati?
What's that?
Is he out of Cincinnati?
No,
I think I'm confusing him with somebody else.
Louisiana.
Okay, yeah, there was another host out of Cincinnati that. Hey, one other thing since we touched on politics, and then I move on to the next call. Have you seen Fetterman lately?
Yeah, hey, he's got some sense. Hey, maybe that's the Trump effect.
Something happened. I mean, I don't know,
I know
if it's still the real Fetterman. Did they move in an imposter? I mean, the guy was a far-left lunatic when he was running. Then he had a stroke, and you couldn't really comprehend much of what he was doing for a long time. Now, there doesn't seem to be any sign of the stroke left. He speaks clearly, and he's become basically either a classic liberal, which now in today's world, classic liberals are part of the Republican Party. He's been going around saying, look, if you root against President Trump, you're rooting against the country. We all need to get behind him. I mean, that's the last thing I
Hey.
expected from him. But congratulations.
But maybe he's off all his prescription drugs and got on a carnivore,
I think so.
keto diet.
I think so. He looks healthier.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything looks better. All right, Ron, got to move along. I think we're going to get to some calls today. I don't know if today's going to be short or long. We'll see. We're going to head off to Minnesota. Matt, are you home for Christmas?
Well, I will be tonight.
Okay.
I got a load. I just backed in right now to load to take down to the cities and deliver tonight yet, and then go home. So,
Oh, got it. All right.
well, I was hoping Brent was going to be on today because I'm not sure you're going to know the answer to this. So, also I'll throw it out to the audience.
Okay.
My insurance renewal.
Yeah.
So I've got a second quote from a smaller insurance company, and it came in quite a bit cheaper by $3,000 some for the year.
Wow, nice.
The difference is it's a lower rated insurance company.
Okay, so what's
So
your
Northland
current
is
rating?
The one I've been with for a long time is a A++, which is the top of the market.
Okay.
And then the new one, if anybody's even heard of this, Occidental Fire and Casual of North Carolina,
Yeah, Occidental's been around
is an
forever.
A- rating.
An A minus.
Okay.
Yeah, Occidental
Yep.
is huge. They've been around forever. So this gets down to some pretty minute details as far as the rating
Yep.
system goes. So it's
Yeah, so A- is still rated excellent. Let me see if
Yeah,
I can find the list here.
we're getting into some pretty A plus plus. I don't think there is an A plus. I don't know why they do this.
Yes, there was.
Was there?
Yep.
I don't think.
But there's not a regular A. So it's A++, A+, and then it goes to A-.
Yeah. Okay. So A minus still considered, I think, excellent. Considered very strong. Excellent financial security. It's not at the top of the scale. The odds, though, and this is really all we care about, right? All you care about is if your truck burns up in a fire tomorrow, that they can afford to replace it for you.
Well, that's not my concern. My concern is the brokers. That's why I was asking Brett's
Okay.
opinion on that.
I have,
Okay, I just found it here. Plus and A+ are superior.
right.
Then there's A and A- is excellent. And then B++ and B+ are very good, and it goes down from there. So I can say their name, but there's this large association in the owner-operator world that has insurance, and I don't know exactly what their rating is, but I know it's not the top one.
I know what
And
you're talking
there are
about.
brokers.
That
Yep.
issue had nothing
Certain
to.
brokers won't.
It had nothing to do with their rating. It had to do with some clause, and I don't remember what it was.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because the one I know for sure is Landstar will not load anybody
Right.
that has this insurance, and they use the reason that it's not rated high enough. But Landstar is a carrier, and I'm assuming that's the reason they chose not to load anybody with this insurance.
I thought I remembered this as there was some specific clause in it's OIDA's policy that they were that people were unhappy with, or it was kind of a clause they didn't like in there. I don't remember the details, but I didn't think it was about the rating. Did you happen to look to see what their rating is today? I mean, this changes all the time too.
No.
Well, not all the time, but it can change at any time.
I don't remember if it is minus. I don't think it was down in the B rating, so it was still the excellent.
I would be really shocked if there's a brokerage out there that wouldn't accept an A minus.
Okay.
You know, one of the things you could do, you could call your brokers, ask them.
Yeah, I couldn't do that yet today.
And they'll also they'll know their policy, obviously, but they'll also know what the general consensus is amongst brokers.
Okay. So, just to give a little background here, I had a claim, yes, and it would have been 2020. So I remember wearing a mask during when the cop was there to make the police report. So it must have been 2020 because
Right.
I didn't wear a mask very often.
Yeah.
And it was a hit and run. I mean, I was sleeping in the truck and somebody took my hood off.
Oh, nice.
And recognized the name of the trucking company, but, we don't have pictures and the
Yeah.
trailer number or anything. It was a big fleet.
Yeah.
And so it went on my physical damage of $18,000.
Yikes.
So I'm guessing the reason this new insurance company came in cheaper, because I haven't even had a second quote that was worth talking about in the last 3 years. I've been with Northland for probably 15 plus years.
Okay.
Not even longer. So I'm guessing that fell off the payout record. But Northland, obviously, because they paid it, that's maybe why they haven't dropped their rate on my physical damage. Because that's the biggest difference in all of my liability, cargo insurance, everything. It's physical damage is where Northland's coming in more expensive.
Got it. It's not really off topic, but at some point here soon, I may have a kind of a partnership with, not necessarily with an insurance company, but with an association that uses an insurance company, a little association I had never even really heard of. But the guy running it, I've known for a long time. He used to run the Texas Trucking Association. I haven't heard from him in, when I had the partnership that failed. That was how I met this guy. One of my partners was really good friends with him, so we spent a lot of time together way back then. So I'm thinking this was like 2005. And I've probably run into him once or twice at events and, said, hi, how you doing? And out of the blue, he calls me, and right now he's looking for flights to come up here. He's going to come up and hang out, and we're working on a project. But I've had a couple contacts with insurance companies here and there. We'll see how this goes. It's an education thing they're looking at.
Yeah. So just on that lines, you in talks, is it Travis with the tax firm? Having him on again here before tax season?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. The other thing,
I thought those are really good shows.
Yeah, they are good shows. And this is one of those areas that I have not kept up on the way I used to, tax kind of stuff. I used to know tax stuff in and out because I was working with it a lot more. Once we kind of settled with Travis, I stopped doing a lot of that because I know I can just always call him. It's probably a good time to do a refresher. Take a look at what's happening with all the original Trump changes and tax cuts, because a lot of those expired or will expire. And
Yep.
I'm assuming that will be a part of their agenda early on, is to kind of lock those in while they have a chance.
Yep. And there is a correction I need to make on that. I made a statement on the air several months ago about the QBI, qualified business income, the pass-through.
Yeah.
That it expired this year. It expires next year. So
See,
we still get that deduction
Yeah.
for
That's
2024. But
that's kind of the stuff. I mean, we haven't talked about it a lot. There's some confusing stuff out there, so that's a good idea. I happen to love my team, by the way. Somebody in our organization that you're very, very familiar with is already on this to get that show set up.
that's good.
All you have to do is mention things around here, and they get done. I love them.
Yep. So I do have a tax question for another guy, revolving insurance. he has a claim and he hit a deer. So same thing. This is a physical damage.
Got it.
What does he do with that as far as taxes are concerned?
So
I was told
Go ahead.
it's a non-tax event. Don't even claim the check he gets.
So this gets a little tricky. And I think somebody may have given you bad advice, but this isn't always handled properly either. If you're not going to claim the revenue, then you shouldn't claim the expense.
Yes.
But people do claim the expense. They have a big repair bill from a shop. They throw it into maintenance because, that's what we do with all of our receipts, which is fine if you're going to claim the revenue. If you don't claim the revenue, you can't claim the expense either. So you can do it either way. I prefer to show the revenue and you just put it under other income and then take the expense.
Okay.
I think that's the more proper way of doing it. I would rather, it's going to work out the same tax-wise because the income comes in and goes right back out, nothing taxable. So you could leave it off and you end up with the same result, and the IRS will never penalize you because there's nothing to penalize. It's not like you cheated and got. Now, if you don't show the income and you take the expense and they catch that one, then you're going to have to pay that back. That's a mistake. But some people leave both off.
And that makes sense.
Which is fine. And then there's never a problem. They can't fine you or penalize you because you paid the proper amount of tax. I prefer to just document it. It's not hard. It's 2 entries. We just throw them in there and be done with it. And then when we go back and look, we can see what happened correctly. Otherwise, in an audit, the bank might see this big deposit into an account and wonder, hey, where did this money come from? And now they're just going to open up an audit to just figure out where this money came from. And most of the time you're going to say, oh, yeah, it was an insurance payout. I just didn't put it on, but I didn't take it. But I don't want the IRS questioning things. So I would rather have it all documented so if they see that big deposit, they see that I showed that as income. And then they just move on. I don't want them starting an audit for any reason.
So, and that statement, I heard that from a truck driver, not from my accountant.
Okay.
And yes, a way to probably put it into context where it would be true is if the insurance company writes the check to the shop.
Yes. Then
that's a
you
non-tax
could
event because the money never came through your account.
That makes
but if
sense.
The check
right.
goes through your bank and through any of your accounting, you should
document it all.
Put it
right.
in your accounting.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, you want to talk about transmissions, 18 speeds?
Sure.
Because I've gotten a few messages.
I'll bet. I'll bet.
One of them I forgot because I don't know, it's just not that much of a topic sometimes. And one I've always meant to correct you on when you make an incorrect statement about an 18 speed. The incorrect statement is when you talk about them being heavier. That's not true. There's no difference in weight between a 13 speed and 18 speed.
Is that right?
If you're comparing the same rating.
Yeah, same torque rating, same
looking here.
Same model line kind of. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so the heaviest transmissions out there are 716 pounds in a 13 or an 18 speed. You can get a couple of them go a little lighter than that, but they're all, looks like 662 pounds to 716 is the range.
Got it. Okay. So all pretty
in
close
18
anyway.
Speeds anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there is a difference in gearing on the low end.
No, I realize there's a difference in gearing. And there's a difference in gearing.
The lower gear.
Right. Even in the lower gears, there's a difference in gearing in lots of transmissions. There's all kinds of different gear steps on 13 speeds, and there's weird ratios on the bottom end. My point about the bottom end of an 18 is who splits it.
Well, yeah, but the startability side.
Oh, correct.
So
But
for
even-
guys with 264s and
Even
lower.
that, I remember
Yeah,
many times when we had a startability issue trying to find those 18 speeds that everybody said had such a low gear, and I wasn't finding anything that low. I mean, there were some differences, and then somebody said this was why 15 speeds were popular with heavy haul. They had a really low gear, but none of them are even close to what the 14-speed iShift has.
Well, and I don't understand where that statement comes from because I'm looking right now because I have it up in front of me. Okay, yeah, so there is a 15 speed. A couple of them had a first gear was 15.52, which is lower. So the lowest 18 is a 14.4.
That's
And the lowest 13s are 12.3.
that all sounds about right. Yeah, because I can remember some of the running the calculations, and a lot of times, in my opinion, I was just going to stick with the 13. Those couple extra points didn't make enough difference for me.
Yep. But you are correct when you say they're more expensive. 18 speeds are more expensive.
Right.
And that's the only upgrade. So, yeah, in 13s, it's 12.31. In overdrive transmissions, there is a direct drive that has a 14.71 for a low gear.
Got it. Yeah, it's
still-
shocking how many transmission models are out there.
Oh, yeah. And these numbers are still pathetic compared to the new stuff in the auto shifts.
Correct.
I don't remember the Detroit off the top of my head. I want to say it's close to 20 something for first gear.
Doesn't the Volvo go to like 24?
But then
The iShift?
the 14 speed iShift, I think the 13 speed is in the 20 something.
Yeah.
And then the 14 speed goes all the way down to 32 or 34.
Oh, is it that?
So, I mean, it's just
and it's got
crawling, yeah.
2 creeper gears, right, on the forward side.
That's what that 14 speed adds, one more
Right.
much lower gear.
Right. Which is
And
really
just for
that was one of the biggest reasons we couldn't aggressively downspeed an engine even if we wanted to. Once you got the only way to downspeed it was to go to these crazy high ratios we're talking about now, 215s, that kind of thing. But then you had no startability.
yeah. So, and just in case people are confused, I love these numbers because I love math. I wouldn't ever claim that I'm a mathematician or expert on any of this, but I love digging into it. I didn't do that well in high school, so
Yeah.
I'll never claim that I'm good at it. But
hey, Matt,
this ratio first gear is the revolutions in front of the transmission, so we're talking engine revolutions,
right,
to get 1 revolution out the back, the drive shaft.
right.
So
That's what the
really
gear's doing.
Low, let's just say it was 32. I don't know the exact number. You need 32 revolutions of the engine to get the drive shaft to turn once.
Right.
Versus a 13 speed, it's only 12 revolutions.
So basically almost 3 times difference.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that and you know the other this transmission is a bigger deal than what we talk about. Not only does it give us such a wide range of gearing, bottom end and top end. You know, we have 2 creeper gears. I mean, we can go down into the 1 range, which Joel is playing around with some 190 something gears. I think 195s. I forget what the exact number is. He's playing around with those. Still have plenty of startability. And then now we're talking about transmissions with 3 highway gears. That's just unheard of until this transmission, and it gives us so much flexibility now. And the fact that it's not a dual counter shaft, it doesn't have a bunch of oil churn. It's just a very efficient transmission as well.
Yeah, the thing is you can't. It starts getting really hard to compare efficiency when you can't see the efficiency of the internal workings of a transmission.
You know what
But
was
it's actually a lot. There's a big difference.
what was interesting when we built the first signature truck, and we were working with Western Truck Parts. They are a driveline shop, and have you ever seen a transmission dyno?
Well, other than your video where you did it, no.
So they have a transmission dyno. You take the transmission itself, it's out of the truck, and you put it on the dyno, and it turns it, and you can shift it, but you can also take the top case off and watch what's going on in there. That was pretty incredible. There's a lot going on in a 13 or 18 speed.
Yep.
And you can see when you watch that. Now, what I'd love to do is see one of these Volvo transmissions like that, with the case opened up and watching it, go through the gears. And because when you look at the 18-speed, there's a lot going on in there. There's a lot of gears. There's a lot of parts. Yep. There's a lot of oil. There's just a lot going on.
And at one point in time, Mack had a triple countershaft transmission.
Did they really? Holy cow.
But it was an off-road, designed for off-road work and very, very heavy duty. Wasn't an efficient transmission.
Yeah, right. That would make sense.
It was strong, bulletproof, and made for working.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, Matt,
I've driven. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, totally off the top. Oh, I was going to go to the phones. I had a ton of calls. I only have one now, so not that big of a deal.
We scared them all away.
I think so. I posted something last night because I was just into reading yesterday, and I got thinking about stuff. Growing up, I had a bookmobile. I'm surprised I posted, and people are like, "What is that?"
I've seen your post.
That was a regular thing for me. It was like, if I remember right, did it come around once a week? I don't remember the schedule, but it was pretty often. I spent a lot of time in the bookmobile. It was run by the local library, and they just had a straight truck, almost like a bread delivery truck was the one we had, and it was loaded with shelves and books. And they'd show up somewhere in town, and you'd show up, and you'd go check out a book and take back the ones from the week before. And the bookmobile was a big deal for me.
Yeah, I don't remember a bookmobile at all, but I remember hanging out at the city public library.
Yeah, we really didn't.
I don't know.
We really didn't have much of a local library. And I think that was the reason for the bookmobile. We had a small one, but we had a much better selection when the bookmobile showed up. And then
and I think public libraries are on a down.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Trend.
It's surprising most of them even exist anymore. Right. Yeah, they don't see a whole lot of activity. Yep. The other thing I remember that I think this happened like once a month, was it Scholastic books? You'd get the catalog.
Yep.
And you'd go through it. Man, was I excited when the catalog showed up. It would take me like 4 hours because I had an allowance, how many books I was allowed to buy every month. And I had to go through and pick carefully and then wait for the books to show up. And that, like I said, this book that I just recommended, if you're not a real book lover, you're probably not going to find this one all that entertaining. But I thought the writing was just excellent. And it's a great story.
Yeah. Yeah, I was never that much into it as a teenager. I think I read 3 required books through all of high school.
Is that right? Yeah.
But I was just looking at this the other day, and it's on a different computer. But I think I'm just shy of hitting 300 days of audio.
Wow.
On downloaded books.
That's a lot.
That's just downloaded books.
Right.
And actually, today I'm listening to more podcasts than I am probably audiobooks.
Yeah,
So, that replaced any radio I used to listen to. I don't hardly listen to any actual music anymore. I listen to either podcasts or audiobooks. That's it.
You know, I am. I'm thinking, and this is really, really early, but I've got an idea for kind of a big project we might take on. I'm not sure. Because I don't see the future for, honestly, I don't see the future for satellite radio. I think it's outrageously expensive for them to put up satellites and maintain satellites, and they have a bandwidth problem. They used to cancel my show on the weekends all the time, preempt it, because they didn't have enough bandwidth for sports. I mean, we think they have, it feels like they should have unlimited channels. They don't. There's only so much data that they can stream back and forth from those satellites. And that the number of satellites they have up determines the number of channels and the bandwidth, and they have more content than they have channels. So they're limited, and the only way they can break that limit is to put up big, expensive satellites. Well, what's the point? Because everybody else is just transmitting across the internet. I mean, I have, if I wanted to build a network, which we kind of already have, I have unlimited bandwidth. There's no limit to how many channels or shows I could create. And they're limited. They're very limited. And they have to preempt shows, and everybody gets pissed off. Doesn't matter what you preempt, you're going to make somebody unhappy. And they're pretty stuck in their growth. So, and I think they're way behind. I know they used to podcast my show, but they'd only leave it on the network for a week because, again, they're limited on hard drive space as well. They could upgrade that, but they don't. And their podcast app really kind of sucks.
Nope.
So I think there's an opportunity. I think at some point you're going to start seeing podcast networks around topics or industries.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's already happening.
Correct. Right. All the technology is that. I mean,
it's gonna grow.
Yeah, we kind of already. We have one show outside of our own right now, but we're talking about adding other shows and creating kind of a network. So when you come to our network, here are all the shows that are available to you. Now, the thing about podcasting, the problem is it's not user friendly yet. It's not very complicated, but it's still not the same as, think about in our industry, a driver gets a job at a trucking company and they have satellite radio in their truck. I mean, he just gets in and turns the button. Eventually he'll find the trucking channel, either like it or he won't. Podcasting is not that simple. You've got to kind of be more deliberate. You got to know what app am I going to use, and there's all kinds of apps. What shows do I want to follow? It's kind of the Wild West still, but I can't imagine that that's not the future. This is how we're going to get our news and entertainment, I believe. Unless some new technology comes along, I don't know what that's going to be.
Yeah, and I know Spotify just did some big update, and I don't use Spotify very often, so I can't speak to the user side of it very well. And I know they added a ton of features, and one of them I think is even almost like a social media style comment section on each individual podcast.
Yeah. Well, if think about. It
sounds like it's pretty big. Yeah.
Yeah, and also think about this. Podcast, really, the originals were all audio. Most of them today are video. I mean, this is not just overtaking radio. It's also replacing TV.
Yeah, Mike Rowe just started it on his podcast, but 3 other podcast. Well, no, Mike Rowe's been doing it a long time. One other one I listened to just started it, where they're streaming on video their podcast,
right?
And that way they can hold up pictures to the camera, or when it's an in-guest in studio guest, you get to see
Or
those people they're talking, but
or almost every guest today. The only reason we're streaming video every day, the only reason our guests aren't on the video is simply because we have a lot more going on than most podcasts. Most podcasts, they're using one piece of software that does video. Like we use Restream for our video, but our audio is all our own. It goes out on our own app. It's our own broadcast platform. It's all of our own stuff, and we can't get it to play with the video programs. There's one little issue that we just can't fix. I've tried everything, and I can't get it to work. But our app, our broadcast app, we've been working on video from the start. So we will, at some point, all of our transmission, video, audio, all of it will originate from our app and then go out to some of these other platforms. But at some point, we'll control all the audio and the video. We're just not there yet. But here's a possibility. Once you start doing that I did a Zoom call last week with Dwayne, the Volvo engineer. You were on it. I'm talking to you. You were on it. That's right. That could be a show. We could, at some point, we could do that as a show. We would have all the visuals up. He had incredible calculators, right, that made this all make sense. At some point, we'll be able to broadcast that kind of a show or an event.
Yep. So back to the original insurance. Angie got a message, I guess. They want me to repeat the question with the North Carolina insurance company.
Okay, go ahead.
And it was just the rating. So, yeah, the A++ rating versus an A- rating. And if any brokers or anybody has any issue with that lower rating.
Yeah, so you're not worried about the coverage because of the lower rating. You're confident they'll cover anything that happens, and I agree with that. A- is still a really strong rating. You just want to know, are there brokers that might look at an A- and say, no, we're not going to take that?
Yep. And I'm assuming, same thing, if there is, it would only be on, the high security, high value load type stuff.
Right.
Like, if you're hauling money or, the credit cards and I'm not involved in any of that stuff. I pretty much, stick to reefer and food grade stuff. And
yeah. No high dollar,
which
right.
I did up my cargo insurance this year just because, and nobody's requiring it, but mainly because, what's his name? TJ?
Yeah.
Talked about it, that it just shows you're a higher value carrier by having higher value cargo insurance.
Right. Yeah.
So, and I assume that original 100,000, I don't doubt I have several loads that break that already.
Probably.
Even though the shipper broker doesn't require higher insurance, I got a feeling if something ever happens, it's going to be an issue.
Well, we went through.
I'd rather have more cargo insurance.
Yeah, we went through such rapid inflation, and it's really screwed up a lot of things like that. Coverages that used to work don't work anymore. And like I was saying, we hadn't done a CMC since 2018. And when we went to put one together last year and I started looking at the numbers, I'm like, this doesn't even work. I can't charge people enough. I'm not going to sell any tickets if I have to charge them enough just to cover the cost. So it's virtually impossible to put on an event like this today without sponsors.
Yep.
Because the costs have just gone through the roof.
Here, I have extra fuel tanks mounted on my trailer.
Yeah.
So you think about it in a rollover situation and a fuel spill.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've heard all kinds of crazy numbers.
Right.
But just in reality, that you look at it, what a crew has to come out and clean up a truck that's been laid over on the side of the road and leaking fuel. And,
right.
If they have to unload the trailer, load of freight before they can upright it.
Yeah.
That's going to be a big bill.
It's going to be a big bill. You're not kidding. Plus all the environmental regulations that happen, and it gets ugly. Yeah.
Well, knock on wood, I'll not experience that. But
Yeah, that's
far,
for
so
sure.
good.
All right. Hey, Merry Christmas, and we'll probably talk to
Merry
you
Christmas.
early next year.
Sounds good.
All right. Take care. Let's go to Arizona this time. Tom, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. What's on your mind today?
The bookmobile, don't remember it in our town, but we knew if the Wienermobile got within 20 miles. You know what I mean?
Now, see,
but we were, so.
I made the comment on this post. I was probably the odd child because I got more excited about the bookmobile showing up than I did the ice cream truck.
Yeah, no, that was, I remember the ice cream truck too. But I grew up about 30 miles east of Los Angeles.
Oh,
and
well,
so
yeah.
I think that really has something to do with our education. We were outside every day. You know what I mean? And then when we came in at night, especially in the summertime, when it was dark, it didn't get dark till 9:30 at night. You'd just be so exhausted you just crash until the next day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that probably, if you look at people who read books as children, they probably not a whole lot of them. I mean, yeah, I'm sure the majority of them are from cold weather states in the wintertime when you really couldn't go out much.
Well, I would read year round, no doubt about it, but I would definitely read more in the wintertime, and I still do. I mean, that is still a really clear pattern for me because in the summertime, the long days, I'd like to be outside as much as I possibly can, but I still, even after a long, long day outside, I'll get a half hour in. Usually a half hour, and that's in bed. I go to bed, read for a half hour, usually fall asleep. Wintertime, there'll be much more of what I did yesterday. It was just rainy and cold.
Oh, yeah.
There was nothing I wanted to do in the house. And I thought, I am just going to read for pure enjoyment today. And I love, there's nothing better for me than when I can knock out a book in one shot. The story's better. Everything about the book is more, if it's a good book. If it's a bad book, there's nothing you can do to help it. If it's a good book.
What was the book recommendation you just had? I missed the first 10 minutes. I didn't think you'd be on today.
Oh, yeah. And I kind of prefaced this one by saying you're only going to like this book if you really love books and stories. A lot of the people, most of our book recommendations on the show are not novels and reading for enjoyment. They're reading to learn something, a lesson, that kind of thing. This is just pure reading enjoyment. But you're probably not going to enjoy this book unless you love books and stories, because it's a book about books and authors and stories, and it's called The Lost Bookstore. It's just a really interesting storyline, and the writer's just incredible. It's just that writing that no matter what the topic is, I just want to keep reading because the writing itself is so good. The story's good, but it's just pure enjoyment. I mean, that's all this is, and it's just it's a good story and just really good writing is what it is. So. And I was able to knock it out in one day.
Oh, excellent. That sounds like something I'll tackle. Hey, I sent you TJ just posted his Catskill ticket, and I
was wondering why you were sending me a scale ticket.
Well, read that bottom there where it says in the black, California. This is not a California certified. What is that all about? What the hell is California? They will do every single thing they can to make life more difficult on people.
They do. Why does California think it's so damn special that they can have a bunch of different rules?
Because it's the seventh largest economy in the world if you go by country, and you see now, and there's another thing. So Oregon and Washington followed the CARB rules into why you guys can't buy.
Speaking
diesel.
of which,
I mean, Freightliner quit.
Did you see what I posted? Freightliner is not going to. They're not sending internal combustion engines to trucks to any dealers in Oregon.
Freightliner builds them in Portland.
You can't make this stuff up. I know, but
You can't make this shit up, Kevin.
they're putting in these limits that you have to sell so many of each one of these classes of electric vehicles, except the vehicles don't even exist.
They should have just put in there they need all internal combustion motors need to run on pixie dust.
Well, they might as
It
well.
makes exactly the same as much sense.
You know, what do you do if you are a fleet based in Oregon or Washington, because Washington did it too, and you need to buy trucks? You're not going to buy electric trucks. Do they not get that? Even if those trucks were available, nobody wants them yet.
Well, what's Old Dominion goes about 2.5 years, and then replaces them. I think further line haul. trucks.
Probably because they run those things
24/7.
round the clock.
Yeah, and then so will that affect the registration? And then why is this not covered under the Chevron deference?
Well, yeah.
Because the EPA is not elected.
Well, wait a
Not
minute.
an elected entity.
This isn't the EPA.
Well, that's where it started, and then it went down to who's supposed to be in charge of it now.
Well, no. What I'm saying is these are state issues. This isn't the EPA. This is the state saying we're doing this. That
just interferes with interstate commerce.
Exactly. That's the clause that should have never allowed this. I don't know that the Chevron deference would do much about this, but the original Commerce Clause should have stopped all of this kind of stuff in California, and it didn't, and now it's spreading. And I can remember back in 2005, everybody screaming at me, "Oh my God, it's going to spread everywhere. It's going to be all over." And I said, just chill. It's not spreading yet. It might someday. When it does, we'll deal with it. Now, 25 years later, it is or 20 years later, it is happening, and we're going to have to deal with it. But there was no point in crying about it 20 years ago. But now, I don't know what's going to happen, and nobody seems to understand how these rules even work. What can a fleet buy these things out of state? And register them out of state, but then operate them in Oregon? I don't see why not. I used to, when I lived in Florida, I used to register all of my trucks in Oklahoma because it was cheaper and there was no sales tax on commercial vehicles. I had no connection to the state of Oklahoma other than I hired a company to be my agent there, so I had an address, and then I could register all my vehicles there. See,
98% of the trailers have never been to Maine.
Right. They have Maine. Yeah, they have Maine license plates on them. That's what I mean. Industry,
every one of them,
will always find a way around these kinds of regulations. I posted the other day the picture of the raw A2 cream, like the holy grail of dairy for me, raw A2 dairy. I don't think it's going to get any better than that, except try to find it around the country. In Oregon, can't buy it. I can't even find any. Nobody even bothers. So I have a farm in Pennsylvania that makes all kinds of dairy products. I was shocked at everything they make. They make raw cottage cheese. They make raw yogurt, raw cheeses of every kind of cheese you could imagine just about you can get in a raw version. Raw milk, raw half and half, raw heavy cream, all of it. Raw. I think they had raw sour cream, raw butter. They have all these products. Most of them have to be labeled for pets only. That's on the label, right on the front, for pets only. And then here's the crazy thing. It's not like they're trying to hide this, that they're getting around the rule. Because when you go to the webpage for each product, they have bullet points. All human-grade ingredients, all human-grade sanitation, all human-grade this. They make it very, very clear that this is safe for humans. It's all human grade. They followed all the right rules when they produce it. And then they specifically say on there, we have to put the words for pets only so that the FDA, so that it's what a joke. Come on, Right.
Yeah.
Not only are we just ignoring the rules, we're telling the FDA we're ignoring the rules.
Right. Yeah, and until you piss somebody off there. Did you see what I replied? Because that girl said, "Should I drink this? It's pet only."
No, I didn't see the reply.
I would drink it until I would drink it until I ran around and started sniffing other people's asses, and then
that might be enough.
and then might cut back a little. Yeah,
so, and here was my analogy. This is, now think about this. This is a huge operation for this farm. They ship all over the country. They're shipping stuff that has to remain really, really cold. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And they've built their business absolutely flaunting a federal regulation. And they say it right on their website. I mean, that's what business does. So
it's only a matter of time before one of these liberals that are in charge of the FDA. Well, now, hopefully with Trump in there,
right?
But you piss off one of these idiots in government, and they've got so much recourse.
Well, companies are fighting back. So here's my analogy: if all these people screaming about broker transparency think that it's really going to matter, I don't care what the FMCSA decides. I don't care if they say the waivers are illegal. Right now, the waiver is the simple answer. The waivers are legal.
Right.
If the FMCSA somehow rules different or gets it changed, here's what will happen next. It's already in the works.
Exactly what will happen.
We're working on one ourselves. You will see private networks. There will be private closed networks of small carriers.
It's way simpler than that. You ask the broker to see the rate, or the rate, and then he shows you the rate. And then the next time you ask him to see the rate, he says, "Hey, you know what? As it turns out, I got somebody else for that load."
No,
and then he doesn't answer your call.
Right, but to avoid all that, and then to avoid the fact that if you keep doing that, you have to keep finding carriers. To avoid all that, people are already starting to build private networks. We're working on one. So it'll be a closed load board, a closed network, and nobody's going to complain. Okay. So the FMCSA won't even know what the hell's going on because we've all agreed nobody needs to see anything. We're just going to work together. And it's so easy to get around this no matter what the FMCSA decides.
And you don't think that they're going to, somebody's going to find a problem with that?
Who's going to do it? Think about it. The only reason
other carriers that aren't allowed to get into the network, or if they, how will you vet the people that get into that network?
You don't have to let them in. First time they complain, you throw them out.
Just chuck them out.
Yeah. Then what? The FMCSA has no teeth. They can't enforce any of this stuff.
They try to, but the other carrier will probably try to sue you if he wants to go that far. But he probably won't because he's the same guy that's losing money because that's why he wants to see the rate, and you know what I mean. So that'll cost him too much money.
And there will, I doubt very much you're going to see attorneys take on cases like this with no charges. We'll wait and see if we get a. That's not going to happen.
Oh no!
That's not going to happen. You're going to have to pay for your lawsuit up front.
Oh, yeah, your lawyer's going to have, right, yeah. And then the one you can afford is so shitty that it's not going to matter anyway. Yeah, right?
Like the ambulance chaser over there at SBTC, you mean like that guy?
Yeah. That guy is the guy that you were referring to as with the little asterisks about notes. See notes, I think, on your post the other day that you said was cringe.
Oh, no. I'm actually talking about legal counsel for SBTC, that law firm. The one that sends me cease and desist letters all the time. He's an ambulance chaser. That's all he is.
Oh, okay. I was talking about the whistleblower.
Oh, yeah. That was the one I was commenting.
He does that shit.
It's so ignorant. And really... The people that I see do it, and I've seen other people do it too. The people that I see do it, they have nothing else to say. There's no substance in the post ever anyway, so I guess this makes them feel like they have something more to type. I don't know. It's just a horrible.
He put in there something like asterisk, and then looked over his shoulder with a
right.
with a. You know what I mean? I'm like, what, dude? Yeah. So that's when I knew that something was special. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's when I quit. I left him alone. I'm like, I can't even tease this guy. He's
I know.
borderline. He needs to be tested. Did you see? So you don't do much on Rumble, but I think you might want to change your mind on that a little bit. Rumble is up 50% today. And Dave Portnoy had the CEO of Rumble on, and I guess they got a $750 million from some. I want to say it was a cryptocurrency that bought a bunch of their stock. Been in the works for only about a month, and I think Rumble's really trying to take over the. And I think they might be even start accepting crypto. Well, I'm not 100% sure about that.
I'd have to ask. I'd have to ask Aaron if we're actually on Rumble or not. I know we were trying. The software we use doesn't specifically connect to Rumble itself, but there was a method to get it to do it. But I don't remember. Some of them, like Instagram, we actually have to set up the show every day. It's kind of annoying, but
that's too much of a pain in the ass.
It is.
Yeah, I keep saying that I'm going to do it, and I don't do it, and then then I'm going to do it. But I'm like Pavlov's dog, where I'm still on Google. You know what I mean? Instead of DuckDuckGo, which is I don't know if it's really much better. I've got the Google Maps for accidents hooked into the Garmin that isn't worth a shit. Yeah. And then I'm gonna do I'm gonna not use YouTube. I'm just gonna use Rumble, and I keep saying I'm gonna do that, but I only watch a couple things on Rumble. But I really think I should probably switch over and try to support them more in what they do, because they're like the doctor that was on the other day. He said he's got to go on to Rumble because he got kicked off of both YouTube and everything else.
Right.
Like when you post, and they're looking for content. So I think Rumble might be a good place for you to go.
Like I said, I know we attempted it. I'd have to ask Aaron if I was just looking on our stream right now, and I don't think we're streaming to Rumble, but I can't remember why. I think we might have to do some custom programming to make that happen. And then, like I said, Instagram, even if you do the custom programming, you actually have to do it every day before you start your show. So I don't, and Aaron was doing it. I've never done it, so I don't know what we're, and then YouTube was a problem. They just kept deleting us. I think we finally just given up on YouTube. Which is a shame. Yeah. I mean, honestly, do you really think that I say stuff that shouldn't be allowed to be on a platform?
No, but you talked about the elephant in the room, and vaccines is
that's the one that gets us almost every time.
It gets you every time.
Yeah.
And then so if you are you paying any attention? So Trump just posts mostly on Truth Social, but then somebody will post it over on X. Yeah. He doesn't post much on X, So he started out with Canada being the 51st state, and then that was funny as hell. And Trudeau went down there. Did you see that picture where somebody AI'd Trudeau in the sitting next to Trump with his God, what's that girl's name?
I saw
with his legs crossed. Yeah, he looks so good. And then then Trump. What was after that? Hold on a second. Then he went with the Panama Canal.
Right.
So that's and I think he's serious about that Panama Canal thing, because then he posted the flag in the middle of the canal. You know what I mean?
It's hard to tell.
Now it's Greenland.
I know, it's hard to tell whether he's just trolling people.
No, it's $500,000 to get some of those ships through the Panama Canal, and I think he's just, that's excessive to say the least.
Somebody just sent, when I'm on the chat, I get messages from all the different platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, all that stuff, X, and somebody just sent me one from. Somebody asked me this before, I think. I don't know why people are asking me this. It says, have you seen your podcast on Sirius XM yet? Somebody asked me that before, and I said, why would you think my podcast is going to be on Sirius XM? They kicked me off. Why do I keep getting asked this question?
That's really odd.
I know.
And then
the first time they made it sound like they heard me on Sirius. The first time somebody asked me this, they were saying, did you realize your show was on Sirius XM? I'm like, no, it's not. I don't know what they're thinking.
Better not be, right?
Yeah, well, absolutely better not be.
But speaking of satellite radio, it hadn't really been around that long. 25 years? Is that when XM, Sirius?
So I can remember
came out sort of the same time.
I can remember in '99, I did my first seminar at the Louisville Truck Show. I've told that story 1,000 times. I wasn't the presenter, and then the presenter bombed, and then I ended up answering questions, and then they fired the presenter and gave me the job. That was the Partners in Business program in '99. On the flight home then, I remember reading an article in Barron's Magazine about satellite radio, that it was just getting started. And then I remember working with Mindy Baker over at Midnight Trucking, and this was around 2000, 99, 2000. I met her at the Las Vegas Truck Show that year in '99. We shared a cab. And I told her, I'd love to come on your channel. And I chased her around for about a year. And then finally, it wasn't quite a year because the Las Vegas show was in the summer. The first time she gave me a chance after that was like the next March. And I came on and did a tax thing. And then she actually became the program director for the original trucking channel on Sirius. And Sirius XM were two different companies back then. She became the program director. She was doing it on the side because she still ran her AM channel. But I remember talking to her and saying, Mindy, I would really like to get a show. And she said, Kevin, you are far better off just being a guest on our show right now. We have like 10 times the reach of satellite radio. She had back on AM back then. And she said, there's just nobody listening yet. She said, so we'll keep an eye on it. And then as it did start to grow and I was working with her, we were talking about putting on a show. Here's something else funny that happened. I just remembered this. Did you ever listen to, oh God, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. Tim Brady. Did a show on
no.
So Tim did kind of the same thing I do. Tim had been an owner-operator for a couple years, not a really long time, a couple years. He was in the moving industry, and then he got rid of his trucks, and he started doing like classes and trying to teach people how to do it. He overcomplicated everything. I mean,
you love that.
He had a formula to figure out exactly what his truck was making per hour. And he used it. But here was the goofy thing. It was this long, complicated formula, and he was bragging to me that he had the formula patented. I'm like, come on. You can't patent a formula. It's math.
Why would you even,
It's just math.
You got a formula for the formula. Right. You got a formula for the formula.
He had this so overcomplicated, and that was how he did everything. Oh, you got to be kidding me. Matt just sent me a screenshot from his phone, and it looks like my show is on Sirius and it's up to date. They have an episode from December. What?
You got to check into that.
Well,
talk about a lawsuit.
No way. Is there...
What channel? Because I've got Sirius, but I only use it for, I haven't searched your channel.
Matt, call me back. I want to know where this is coming from and what the hell this is.
I want to hear this story too.
It's the Sirius XM app. I can see the little dog down in the corner. And it's a screenshot. It says Trucking Business and Beyond. It's got my logo on it with my picture. There's December 18th, December 15th, December 11th, December 19th, 2024. What the hell is right? I got to figure out what's going on with that.
What in the world?
That's bizarre. So anyway.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. Tim Brady him and I would like butt heads everywhere. I mean, I was just over the guy. He was always trying to kind of glom on to everything I was doing. He wanted to be a part of my seminars. And then I picked up I was reading some industry magazine or article or something, and it mentioned how Tim Brady was getting a show on Sirius. And I said, what? And I called Mindy and I said, hey, Mindy, I said, you and I have been talking about a show and you recommended that I not do it. There wasn't enough. I said, what's going on with Tim Brady? She's like, what? And I said, he put out a press release that he's got a show coming up in a couple weeks on Sirius. She's like, oh, hell no, he doesn't. So I thought, you're kidding me. He doesn't have a show? And she said, no. And I said, look, here's the press release. And I sent it to her. And she says, oh, we'll put a stop to that real quick. So I always thought that was kind of funny.
That is funny. Maybe Tim Brady is jayhawking your stuff and putting it on Sirius XM. Where is he?
Yeah.
maybe he's trolling you.
How bizarre is this? Why is my show on their app?
I don't know. I want to hear from Matt. I got to deliver this right here, and then I'm gonna. Yeah, I want Matt to call back and tell us what's going on.
He's in here right now. I'm gonna bring him in right now.
Okay, cool.
Matt.
Okay, thank you.
What is this? Can
I'm
you
trying to bill out my load here.
What is this for real?
Yeah, the Sirius XM app, which you can go to listen to anything, live, and they also, have the recordings. So, I mean, all I did was just went to the search bar and typed in your name, and this is what came up.
So if you were to try to download or listen to that show, is it my December 19th show?
Well, I haven't gone and listened, but I'm guessing it is. So an hour and 26 minutes was last Friday's show. Let me go to your app and look at how long that show was. So I guess I can't see it here without actually clicking on it and actually listening to it. But
that's just...
I think I've heard you're on like Apple iTunes also. Let me go search there.
Now, we are on Apple iTunes. We distribute our show to lots of places. I don't even know if we're on Spotify. We're all over. We're anywhere we can distribute it free. And there's a lot of platforms like that. You just submit your podcast to them and they host it. That happens a lot. We do that.
Okay. Yep. Your Apple iTunes, December 19th, Trucking Business and Beyond, an hour and 26 minutes.
I got to figure out...
Which is what's on Sirius XM's app.
How bizarre is this? One, I don't know if it's legal. I mean, when we choose to put it out on a platform, I get it. Is it possible that once I put it out there, any platform can grab it? That might be legal. I don't know for sure. I got to figure it out. But then the bigger question would be, who did this and why? Do they know they canceled me? How bizarre.
Maybe we should start talking about how bad Sirius XM is and see how long it takes for them to delete your show off of the app.
Exactly. Come on. And I've said far worse things than what I got canceled for, and I'm still on. How weird.
Yep. Do we want to talk about the laws regarding treason?
Yeah.
And the punishment?
That's right.
Because what you said was legal.
It was. It absolutely was. That was not violence induced. It wasn't hate speech. It was just, this is a possibility. This could happen. And it could. I consider that to be a treasonous statement. It's a treasonous thought. But anyway, how weird. I got to go figure out what that's all about. Wonder if anybody listens to it.
I don't know on my phone if I could.
Yeah, I don't know if I can go find out any.
I don't think you can see the analytics of it, but
honestly, I mean, if I go out there and find out that there's a lot of people listening to it, I guess I'll send them a Christmas card and say thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, really, what's it hurting? It's not hurting anything.
Well,
if it's bringing me more listeners.
Well, that's for your royalties back, so.
Yeah. Huh. That's kind of crazy. Figure out what's going on. That's bizarre. All right. Well, thanks, Matt.
Go
ahead. Yeah.
One more topic, if you want to rant about the Freight bankruptcy that you brought up 2 weeks ago now, maybe.
Yeah.
And I realize there's fraud, there's all kinds of strange stuff going on.
Right.
But what I can't comprehend is how a bank would look at this situation and approve anything. So the number is $325 million in debt.
Right.
Which for a large trucking company, you just say, okay, well, that's obviously the bigger you get, the bigger the number gets.
Correct.
It was on 580 trucks.
That is the worst.
You want to do that math?
Well, I did the math based on some average rates, truckload rates and that kind of stuff, and I ran through average miles, average rates. I did the math. This by far is the worst debt to income ratio I have ever seen in a trucking company in my life. Nothing even comes close.
No.
Well, you worked it out to be.
Comes out to 5.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So if we were to compare this to myself or any one truck operation just like me, that would be $580,000 of business debt for each truck.
That's insane. That is absolutely insane. And you're right. Who wrote these loans? Is it possible that a bunch of this money is PPP and idle money?
I would assume so, because I'm sitting there trying to think about this. If I went out and spec'd a brand new 300 and some inch wheelbase truck with a great big ARI sleeper, 2 brand new reefer trailers, they run about $100,000 a piece these days, which I don't need to because everything I have set up, there's no drop and hook at all. It's all live.
Yeah,
load. I still wouldn't be at that debt level.
I'd have to ask Paul or Mark, could we get there building a car hauler?
I know I've heard 400.
I think I have too, but I don't know if we could get to 580 without doing a bunch of really stupid stuff. Yeah, I don't think we could get there.
Yeah.
So my guess is it's primarily idle and PPP money.
Well, that and like I say, in the article they were borrowing money to buy trucks and never bought the trucks, but they got the loan.
Well, then there was another company I did
whatever it was. Yeah.
There was another one I posted just recently that also had a huge debt load compared to the number of trucks they had. And in the article, it said they grew aggressively during COVID. And what that tells me is that they probably paid double for most of their equipment.
Yeah, Paul said 450,000 easy.
Okay.
But that's still,
that still falls short.
130,000 short.
And nobody's going out to build 300 or 500 of those things all at once. And that's what we're talking about here. Right. You might get a small carrier to spend that kind of money once, but you're not going to buy hundreds of those kind of units. So Sarah did a little digging, And she said on the SiriusXM app, the shows go back to February 22nd.
Huh.
So
Yeah, I was going to go back and.
so it's not
look into
like
the
it's
history,
it's not like it's a leftover from when I was there. And it couldn't have been a leftover anyway, because there was a very specific way that they captured my show and then put it on the podcast.
Yeah, they had the audio before.
Right, they had it, and it was
now
already.
they have to go get it.
So somebody at SiriusXM went and got my podcast and put it in their app. And like I said, it might be legal. Maybe we've put it out on and I don't care. I want it. We don't charge for our show. And once we decided not to charge for it, then we decided we should just spread it everywhere. That's why we do our live streams all over. I mean, now we just want to get more listeners since we're not charging for it. But it's just so odd that SiriusXM would put my show up like that.
Yeah, because I'm assuming if you go into, like, say, Spotify, Apple iTunes, that there's probably something in there that says once you've posted here, this is public.
It could be. It could be.
The legal side of it,
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's just interesting that
Yeah. Well,
SiriusXM would choose you.
I'm going to start right now. I'm going to post it and start promoting the fact that we're on SiriusXM's app. I guess they missed me.
Yep. The question is what dollar amount do they have to offer to get you to go back?
That would be NA, not applicable. There is no dollar amount, and I'm serious about that. I would never go back.
Yep.
Wouldn't do it. If you want to do this, if you want to take my show the way here's the other thing. There's no commercials on my show.
Yep.
If they want to take my show the way it is and put it up on their app, absolutely, please do. That's awesome. The more I think about it, at first I was kind of a little pissed off, but now the more I think about it, I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I'm going to promote this.
Yep. Free advertisement.
Absolutely, and more reach. So if they want to put my show back in there, they must be okay with all the stuff I say about vaccines now. And what would happen if I just say it again? Why don't we just try that? Hey, that congressman from Arizona that is now a senator, I think he said a treasonous statement. I think he should be charged for treason.
Yep.
And if he's found guilty, one of the penalties, am I correct about this? Is the firing squad still legal for treason? I think it is. I'd have to go look it up, though.
It just says punishable by death. It doesn't
close
give
enough.
The execution style,
So,
but yes.
So since we're talking about it again, are they going to cancel me again? Are they going to let it go this time? Does anybody even listen? I'm sure nobody listens to it. Nobody in management.
We're going to find out. We will do everything we can to find out, right?
Exactly. What other outrageous statement can I make? The clot shot is nothing but toxic poison and will kill you. Is that enough? That'll get me. That gets me taken off YouTube every time. Maybe we'll just have fun with this. All right, Matt. What else you got?
Oh, that was it. I was just going to make one more thing about when you talk about different shots. In the beginning, Todd mentioned castor oil.
Yeah.
Don't screw that up with castor beans.
Isn't that where castor oil comes from?
Well, I believe so, but there's got to be something in the processing because Ann Rule has a book out about using castor beans to kill somebody.
Which one was it?
That was it the fire something? So, I got to go look it up.
Yeah, Ann Rule has so many.
The one that takes place in, I believe, Kansas or Nebraska, and the guy was a doctor, and his wife she ends up burning the house down. His house finally kills the family.
Oh, I know what story you're talking about.
Me right now.
Yeah, I know exactly what story you're talking about. I don't remember castor. They made a movie out of that one.
Bitter Harvest.
Bitter Harvest. They made a movie out of that one. I forgot the castor bean angle on that one.
Okay.
That's
You know?
right.
Yeah,
that was
that was her first attempt to try to kill her husband, was using castor beans, and
well, then she killed her kids.
burned her whole family,
Yeah.
burned the house down with husband and kids in the house.
Yeah.
Or no, just the kids.
Yeah, I don't think she got the husband.
Lived.
Yeah, I think he lived.
They
the
were
kids
they
didn't
were
get
already
out.
separated. He wasn't
Right.
there. Yep.
Right. Yeah, that was a horrible story.
Oh yeah.
Now everybody is sending
And they're
me.
true stories.
Everybody is now sending me screenshots from the app.
Yep.
Terrence just sent me another screenshot. It's like crazy. That is so. I got to go figure out what's going on with that. Oh man. All right.
Definitely way to end your year, huh?
Well, you're not
Something
kidding.
Interesting.
Yeah. And somebody did bring this up like a month or so ago, and I thought they're just confused. It's easy enough to get confused. They must be looking at a different app or something and just think it's XM. But no, this is it. Everybody's sending it to me. All right, Matt, I'm going to move along. Merry Christmas. We'll talk to you next year. Let's go to Indiana. Jeff.
Hey, yeah, I'm looking at this right now, just going back. It looks like there's Mondays and Thursday shows.
Well,
They're not every one.
How bizarre is that? First off, the fact that I'm even on their app after they canceled me is bizarre, but then why Monday and Thursday?
Yeah, if I go back, this goes back to 23. I'm like, I did what Matt said. I typed it in and went, that can't be true. And there you are with your arms crossed.
You know what I should do?
With your white, white under. So February 5th, February 8th, February 12th, February 19th, and so it goes like Monday, Thursday.
Yeah, and they're current. They're right up to date. With my new shows. You know what I should do? I should take a screenshot and post it on their X account and say, what's with this?
Yeah, I took a screenshot and put it on the Mighty Network. But if you just go into XM and type in Kevin Rutherford, it comes up and says all shows. So
that is
you got December 19, 16, 12, 9, 2. So not every one.
Yeah, well, I guess they missed me, and they do like my content.
Yeah, well, you have to make sure every day you say what got you kicked off, so that way they have to play it. They're going to play it every Monday and Thursday.
That's right. Maybe on Monday and Thursday I'll put it. I'll do an open like "Good morning, you beautiful bunch of fuckers, and all of you Sirius XM listeners."
Yeah, there you go. And they'll go, uh-oh, they got us. I mean, but seriously, is that, I don't know the laws with all that stuff, but is that stealing content? Is that copyright infringement? I don't know nowadays.
Well, I don't either. Possibly it is, but possibly we put it out on so many platforms because we want it distributed as much as we can get it out there. Maybe we've put it someplace that makes it legal for anybody who wants to grab it. I mean, that's not out of the question. Sure. And I don't know the laws around this stuff. And like I said, my first thought was, if I find out that it's illegal, I'll stop. And then I thought, why would I stop them? It's not like we charge for this. So our point is, since we're not going to charge, we do want it distributed as widely as we can. We want as many listeners as we can, and we can get more people to the store, and we can, fund all of this stuff. So I just think it's kind of funny now.
Yeah, but I was going to call you anyway, but since you're the last one you're doing this year, so I just wanted to thank you for all your work and guidance, especially around the health and the weight I've lost and just the way I feel. I'm on 51-month carnivore now, and just feel so much better that I never would have had I not found you. Because you were pushed first on XM before, or the repeat before Coast to Coast came on that I listened to when I went to sleep. That's where I found you. And then
that's
I found
how you found
it,
huh?
Yeah. You were on 10 to 1, something like that. Before Coast to Coast came on, they repeated your show.
Yeah, well, I was living on the East Coast then in Florida, and that was what finally. It's why I moved to the West Coast. That midnight show on the East Coast was killing me. I'd go to bed at like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night because that was my normal time to go to bed, and I'd read for a while and fall asleep. After 2 hours trying to wake yourself up at 11:30 at night and have a clear head and be able to think was brutal. So then I'd use caffeine so I could sound reasonably intelligent. And I was only on for an hour, but then sometimes we would go off the air, but I would stay in the studio and people would keep calling and I would record another hour. So we had filler on the weekends. And then by the time I got to bed, it was 3 o'clock in the morning. And back then I still owned trucks. So I'd be getting to bed at 3 or 4 in the morning by the time I finally wound down and fell asleep. And then at 7 o'clock in the morning, my phone would ring something about a truck. Or, I'd have to schedule a meeting. So that time period is what destroyed my sleep cycle, and I've never been able to get it back.
Yeah, because this was probably after that, though, 17 or 18 when I found you were doing your regular 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock, and then they would repeat you at 10 to 1 before Coast to Coast would come on. And
Yep.
So, and that was when, like I had said, I was listening to you. I said, I got to do something. I finally, needed to lose some pounds. And after 9-10 months of listening to you, just decided to go try it. So it wasn't immediate by any means. So that's why I just give the hope out to the tribe out there. You're going to just start. Just start it today.
There you go.
Don't wait till the beginning of the year, or just start it today.
Right now, not tomorrow.
Right now.
I don't care if you just ate, a whole box of Fruit Loops and 16 Pop-Tarts for breakfast. Start now anyway. Don't wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Start now. That's great advice.
Right.
Yep.
And I guarantee you by beginning of February, you will go, why the hell have I been eating all that crap and didn't start this earlier?
That's exactly right.
So, all right. Well, thanks for everything you do and all you've done, and have a good rest and relaxation, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody.
Merry Christmas, and we will talk to you next year. Let's go to South Dakota. Terrence. Hey, have you been listening to me on Sirius XM?
No, listen, I didn't know nothing about it, but I just went in there and did the same thing. And then when, it showed you standing there, and then it said next to it more. So when you hit more, it's I don't know if you looked at it.
I did.
It's your whole spiel.
I know.
Keep money in your pocket. I'm like,
they have my whole bio. They've got the logo. Everything's there. I mean, it's a pretty damn official.
Well, I mean, like I said, I'm kind of thinking it's definitely illegal. Otherwise, I don't think they're stupid enough to do something like. But you never know.
Well,
anyway,
and again, I'm not sure that I'm not sure that it is illegal. We distribute it out to so many places. It's possible that it is okay for these companies to pick it up, and it's okay with us. That's what we wanted. We wanted it to be put out on as many apps and platforms as possible, so more people see it. So now that I've had a chance to think about it, I think I'm going to send them a Christmas card. Thank them.
Yeah, there you go. Speaking of that, I want to wish everyone out there, the tribe and all that, and the tribe care. Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year, and thanks for all your help with Leanne. Last year.
You're more than welcome.
I really appreciate it.
More than welcome. Absolutely.
All right.
We'll
see ya.
Thank you. Merry Christmas. We'll talk to you again next year, but it's not far away. Let's go to Mississippi. Danny, welcome.
Hey, Kevin.
What's on your mind today?
I was cracking up for there with this thing. But,
I thought it was a joke. I thought somebody must be confused. I can't possibly be on Sirius XM, but I am.
I've got a phone here, and I went and looked last week, Thursday. It starts off with you and Matt talking about Trump and the little Asian guy and the media thing you started off earlier, this show.
Yeah. How bizarre.
So it's actual. Anyway, I've called in before about Edison Motors.
Yeah.
And you were asking about, what the efficiency would be. Well, he's had time to do some runs with that truck.
Yeah.
It's got the C9 Cat, which you said, it's not very efficient. But this was a prototype. I mean, they had a lot of problems. They had to go in but he was hauling some loads, hauling some logs, 200,000 pounds. He got 2 trailers. And Canada, they load them things up. He said you didn't know there was 200,000 behind it, and never kicked the engine on. It was all battery power. And one of the other videos I've watched, they were going to a truck show. They were towing a winch truck on a trailer. Said he was 150. They had a code with the rear axle. They were able to freewheel it. Not sure how you do that with an electric motor, but the truck ran on one axle, and he said it was only using like 40 or 45% battery. And with one, I got to thinking, if you could build one down here, why would you even have 2? You could do a 6x2, I guess you could call it.
Oh, absolutely.
And then run a lift axle. You wouldn't even, and because down here you're only 80,000. There's twice that up north.
So here's my history on this, because I did a lot of research on this technology back when we thought this was going to be a possibility. Now, I don't know how the logging part of this changes all this. The one thing we absolutely know, I mean, think about how hard it is for us to build a Class 8 truck out to 1,000 horsepower. I mean, it takes a lot of work. It's all electronics, bigger injectors. They're not efficient. They're tough to drive. You can do it. You could build 1,000 horsepower, but it's a pretty extreme engine. It's not efficient. It's not easy to drive. And yet Tesla's first Class 8 truck is 1,000 horsepower. I mean, that's just how easy that is to do with electric. And the torque is instant. It is, and this is why I've been saying, electric motor technology is superior to an internal combustion engine. There's no doubt in my mind about it. It's simpler. There's less moving parts. There are clear advantages to it. It's the storage of the electricity that are problem. It's not the motors. Electric motors are really incredible. We don't have the ability to store and recharge batteries fast enough, and we don't have enough power in our system. There's all kinds of reasons why it's not going to work right now. But I've said that this is a much, much better technology to move a vehicle down the street. And I still believe that. But here was the problem when I studied this type of drivetrain that he's developing. I wanted just the pure efficiency. I wanted it to cost less. I didn't care about performance. I'm happy with our current performance. The fact that he can pull 200,000 pounds, I get it. That's incredible. But that's not on my radar. My radar is how do we pull 80,000 pounds at a lower cost? And this model was never going to get us there. And one of the problems is when you start with an internal combustion engine and then you use that to drive there, you are constantly converting the energy. And every conversion loses energy. The more conversions you make, the less efficient you become. So to me, and I had engineers explain this to me, this was never going to be an efficient way of doing this. Now, when you get heavier and heavier, then it starts to make some sense. People would always say, well, why do trains operate this way? Well, I didn't know why it worked on trains. I think it's a weight issue, that at 80,000 pounds, this is not an efficient way to build a drivetrain.
Yeah, well, the diesel engine isn't running all the...
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You still have to burn diesel fuel in it, and internal combustion engines are not all that efficient. They're more efficient now than they used to be, but they're still not it. So now we're and then we have to run that just to drive the generator or whatever conversion we have. We have to convert to AC, back to DC. All of those conversions, it's just inefficient. It's not going to end up being a lower cost, and we have a much more complicated vehicle at this point. And don't forget, the engines we would put in this truck have to meet all the emission requirements. So if you put this C9 in there and you want to run it on the highway, it's going to have all of the same emission standards of any other 2025 truck.
What he's doing with this was a prototype. He's got like 10 trucks that they're building. He's using, I don't know if all of them, but he's got some Scania engines. Scania. I don't remember what models they were, but he said that they were EPA compliant.
Well, that's what I mean. They have to be.
I don't know how.
So that means you now have.
And that's what.
Right. You now have all the same emissions we have on our current trucks. And you've added the complication of there's also an electric drivetrain in this truck.
These engines, one of it, I don't remember, they don't use, I don't know if it was DEF. There's something they don't use. I mean, I know Joel probably won't be on with them, but I know Joel's working with Scania.
The trend in internal combustion engines is to get the emissions off of the engine and put them downstream in the exhaust. So trying to get away from EGR and all the things that are bolted onto the engine itself and move all of the emissions back to the exhaust. I get that. But what I'm saying is people don't want new trucks. There's still a whole bunch of people that don't want new trucks. They think the emissions are a problem. And yet with this electric truck, you still have to meet all those same emission requirements.
What's weird, though, is it'd be like a reefer unit. Reefers don't have DEF.
Yes, they do. I thought that they have to, well, they might not have DEF. They have to meet all the same emission requirements. Now, the difference is when you go to different size engines, they're using different technologies to meet the requirements. But there are still requirements on APUs, reefers, all of that. There's still emission requirements.
Oh, I know. Reefer is CARB compliant.
That's what I mean. Right.
West Coast, but
so I
don't. Maybe I'm looking at it, but
he's accomplished a lot. I mean, it's incredible what he's done, and I haven't studied it in depth, and maybe there's a place for it in his world with the logging where it makes sense. It's been tried, and it's not new. This was tried 20 years ago on an over-the-road truck. It's been tried multiple times by multiple companies, and nobody's ever had any success with it. Maybe he's come up with something new. The problem before, like I said, when I asked the engineers, why isn't this working? And they said there are too many conversions and it's not efficient.
I don't know. Maybe he's doing different and, I don't.
Yep, maybe he is.
I'm just saying that, from what, I don't know. I've been watching him and it's impressive. And he's all about right to repair. He doesn't.
Oh,
I'm
with him on that.
There,
I'm with him.
He wants to build these. He's even doing conversions. He'll take an older truck, swap out the drivetrain. I haven't seen any of that.
Well, so here's what I'd like to see.
What that would cost.
Well, here's what I want to see. What is the initial cost of the conversion, and then what is the cost per mile to run that truck down the road? And then what is the maintenance cost over time? So what we really have to look at, and it's difficult and it's going to take us, we don't even have all the information we need. The way we should compare truck versus truck, is this truck more efficient in my operation or this truck? We do what's called total cost of ownership. Now, this is a long, complicated calculation with a lot of variables. So how much does the initial vehicle cost me? If I finance it, how much does the finance charges add to that cost? What is the cost of operating it for fuel or energy, or however we want to say that? What is that cost per mile? What is the maintenance cost per mile? How long can I expect this truck to last me? When will I have to get rid of it? When I do, how much can I sell it for? That's a lifetime calculation of a vehicle. That's what we have to do with these vehicles, and nobody's doing it.
Anyway, I just impressive watching.
If I had more time,
I don't know what the cost is, because like I said, you gotta put, like my truck will say.
Well, here's the thing.
Batteries, and then you could put a small engine. You don't need a.
Well, there is a.
It wouldn't run, but today.
Well, you don't know that. First off, we have to figure out what size is that engine. It can only put out so much energy, so much torque to turn a generator. How big is the generator? Because if the generator's too small, that engine might run all day to try to keep up with batteries. But if you put a bigger generator on, now you need a bigger diesel engine. Energy is not free. There's no free energy. There's all these, and here's the other thing. He cannot. None of us can. None of us can do a total cost of ownership calculation on his vehicles, because we don't know what those costs are going to be. We don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know what kind of things we might have to replace. How long? We know batteries wear out. That's a big, big cost. What about the generator itself? I've had to replace generators on RVs. They're really expensive. A big enough generator to power those kind of batteries is not a little generator, and it's not cheap.
No, it goes where you transfer. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But again, he's got...
well, let me say this.
What it comes up,
I love the fact that he's doing this. And he knows what he's doing. I haven't watched any of the videos in depth, but I've read a little bit, and I love guys like this. I love the fact that he's out there doing this. But I've seen a whole bunch of people who hated electric trucks all of a sudden think this is the greatest thing ever. Why? I'm not saying it's bad. Prove to me that it's better and I'll be on board. But nobody's proven that to me. And why were all these people so against electric trucks, but they look at the little guy doing this and they're cheering him on? Well, I get it. I'll cheer him on too. I think this is awesome that he's doing it. But why did you have such a negative attitude towards fully electric trucks, but you think this is life-changing? I don't get it. This isn't even a new idea. And I'm not talking about you.
I'm not 100% against. Hell, if somebody gave me a Tesla, I'm the guy that you hand me the keys. I don't care what it is. Give me the keys to the space shuttle. I'm taking off.
Oh, yeah, same with me. That's why I admire this guy for what he's doing. I mean, this is a big deal. And he's obviously, this is a sharp guy that knows what he's doing, and he's out there doing it. He's not just claiming, he's out there proving things. More power to him. And if he pulls it off, I'll be the first one to promote this if I can say that, look, this really is more efficient. I don't think it's ever going to be. I don't think this idea is going to be the most efficient way to run a Class 8 truck down the highway. Maybe there are segments where this does make sense, but I don't see it on the highway based on looking at this stuff for almost 20 years now.
Yeah, and again, it's going to take you got to, it's just like with the electric trucks, Tesla's all over the country.
No, we're not. We're not there yet. Right. And the hydrogen electric, like anyway, I said, the one cost I was able to get looks like it's about $5 a mile for fuel on that truck.
That was nuts.
Yeah, that's insane. And anyway, I know it will come down some, but it's got a long way to come down. All right. Merry Christmas. We'll talk to you next year. Stuff's piling up on us here. Matt just sent something over, another topic I could talk about to see if I could get canceled off Sirius XM again. I need to talk about soy boys and Asian males. There's all kinds of things I can talk about to offend people, but it seems like no matter how offensive I am, Sirius XM wants me back. We'll see what happens. Let's go to Missouri. Gerald, welcome.
Hey, Kevin, Merry Christmas to you and the tribe.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
All right. So that's crazy with the Sirius XM using with your podcast on there. I was shocked, too. I was like, well, they fired you. They, you know. But
well, let's be clear. They couldn't fire me. I was never an employee. They canceled my contract.
Yeah, they just canceled it. But you familiar with the copyright office, the U.S. copyright?
Well, I know it exists. I know the laws are really complicated, and I have no idea how they apply in this case. I'm thinking that this is probably some intern at SiriusXM somewhere that was given a task of finding good podcasts to add to their platform. And my guess is that they should understand these rules way better than I do. And what they're doing might be completely legal. And like I said, I don't even care if at this point, now that I've had a chance to think about it, I don't care if it is illegal.
Yeah.
I'm still going to let them do it. It's not hurting me at all.
Yeah.
It just gives me more exposure. And it's funny that I can come on. It's kind of funny.
Like wonder who if they own the name, the trucking business and beyond.
No, they do not own that name. I can tell you that for sure. That was we owned the rights to everything except the shows that I broadcast on their platform. They actually did have the rights to those shows. That was in my original contract. I signed that. I was not allowed to take that content and use it anywhere else.
Oh yeah, I got it.
Right,
but it's your name, so that's good though.
Right, So I think it's kind of funny that I can come on the air now and say, "Welcome all the Sirius XM listeners."
Yeah, that's right, because you don't got anything to lose with them with that.
Yeah.
See, that's something of how that U.S. Copyright Office came about, and you just. Like you're not allowed to play music on YouTube and you're still on YouTube. There's all your podcasts are on there from when you started it. They're all on there. The live streams.
Is there anything current?
That's all those. Yeah, it's current. It's the Friday and Thursday.
Okay, maybe
current.
Was I broadcasting today? Maybe we're trying again. I mean, we keep getting letters and they delete whole videos, and then we have to try to ask them to put it back up, and then they won't put it back up. And I thought at one point we were on our third strike, and they said if we had another strike, we were just going to lose our whole account. So I don't even pay attention to them anymore.
Yeah, it's something. Yeah, so to pay, in order to use the music, like radio stations, they have to pay like a fee to the ASCAP and BMI that hold the royalties for the artists. And I guess it just depends. You could pay up to $2,000 just to use their content, their music.
Oh, I would. There are a couple songs I would like to make a part of my show, and you can go directly. And I may attempt this. If you just want one song for one specific purpose, you can go in and negotiate that, and I may do that. You can also buy what's called a blanket license. That allows you to play music anytime, anywhere. Those get really expensive. So much so that if you remember, before SiriusXM merged, Dave Nemo used to play a lot of music on his show. He would play whole songs. He would play those long comedy routine kind of things. And after we merged,
sure did. I remember.
Yeah, after we merged, Sirius came to all the hosts and said, "We are changing the license. You can no longer play whole songs. You can only play 30-second clips." And that was a license they bought. That doesn't mean it was free. It just didn't cost as much if you only wanted to license certain clips, not whole songs. And they said, we're not a music channel. We don't want to pay for this music license. We're going to switch to a cheaper license, and now you can only play 30 seconds of a song. Now, sites like YouTube.
Not like all the others, because they've got a bunch of music channels.
Right. And then all of the platforms use AI. If you try to post something to YouTube, a commercial video to YouTube that has music in it, It gets flagged instantly and taken down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's an AI, too, doing
Yeah,
that.
it's all AI doing that.
Hey, Kevin, I ran across a video last night of you on YouTube. This was back in 2012. You was talking about the difference between tactics and strategies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was...
Like with the carriers, like the brokers, they complain about that, oh, they're just doing a strategy. That's just their strategy. They don't care about the tactics of their operations. I thought that was...
So,
man, that's all I remember.
Yeah, so I do a whole seminar on this, and I think that year I did it at Louisville, maybe, for Partners in Business. And
yep, I think. Yep.
Yeah, the idea here is that it's kind of, you can learn this from, if you study militaries, I always talk about the book, The War of Art, which is a play on words. The original classic book is The Art of War by Sun Tzu.
Oh, yeah.
And it talks about military strategy and tactics. And the difference is strategies are big picture, and they almost never change. Tactics are things we do every day, and they can change all the time based on what's going on with fuel prices or politics or whatever. Right. Yeah, and the idea of this is one of the changes I made to my CMC. Here's what people love. People love tactics. They hate strategy. Tactics are easy to understand and easy to implement. So if I tell somebody, if you do this to your truck, we can save you this amount of fuel, and then that saves you this amount of money, and then we can invest that amount of money. People love that stuff. That's what they want all day long. What they hate is strategy, because it's not as easy to understand. Right. But I've tried to tell people tactics are wonderful. But if you have good strategy, then your tactics become 10 times more powerful. So I have switched to teaching more strategy in the CMC, and I'm losing people over it. And I know I'm losing them. They don't like it. But to me, I'm at that place in my career where I don't care. I don't have to please everybody. You can't please everybody. No. I am going to do what I think is the most powerful for the people who want to learn.
Because you've been doing it for a long time, and
yeah,
they can't argue with you. Like
well, they
argue
can.
With you online, they just can't.
They can.
They can, but you got.
It doesn't do them much good. That's right. All right, Gerald. Hey, I'm going to move along the call.
All right, we'll have a Merry Christmas, Kevin, and we'll talk to you next year, my man.
Merry Christmas. Thank you. I thought today was going to be short, but it looks like we might go the full duration today. Let's go to Michigan. Sarah, welcome.
Hey, Kevin. Now you can tell people, hey, we are now on Sirius, uncensored and commercial free.
Isn't that crazy? That is so funny. Oh, man.
I didn't know that till you mentioned it today. I looked it up. And when I said February 22, not February 22 of this year, they have shows as far back as February of 2022.
Oh, you're kidding. So this has been going on for...
No, I scrolled all the way down.
Wow, so this has been going on for almost 2 years now.
I guess there's somebody maybe back added them, and maybe they only did Mondays and Thursdays because they aren't the themed shows, like health and trucking and
here's something else
and maintenance and efficiency.
Maybe so. Here's something else. If you remember when SiriusM first started podcasting, it was very, very limited. Like in the beginning, there were only certain shows from certain channels, and I was pretty surprised when they added mine because not everybody was on the podcast then. And your show only stayed on the podcast each episode for 7 days because they were trying to manage all their bandwidth.
They did.
Right. So now I'm a little shocked. It's not free for them to put this stuff up there. They need the bandwidth, and I'm shocked that they added mine back in. I think it's hilarious.
Huh. Well, like I said, you can say, hey, we're on Sirius, uncensored and commercial free.
Commercial free. Maybe that's the post I'm going to send to them on their X account.
Yes.
I love that.
I would.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to share another book before the end of the year. I don't know how I keep finding books that, here's a new book. And I look back, and it was put out in 2013. And it makes sense because when it's called The Immune System Recovery Plan by Susan Blum, MD. And she is a functional medicine doctor, and she talks about finding a functional medicine doctor and working with them and eating organic and grass. But although at first she said something about avoiding beef, and then the more I listen, and it's because of she's talking about commercially raised beef.
Oh.
And she keeps mentioning grass-fed beef like it's super hard to find because back in 2013 it was
hard to find. Yeah. It's getting much easier these days.
It's another great book that just really describes the whole immune system, how it works on a very nice level that anybody can grasp listening to it.
I could use that. It's one of the areas that I'm not nearly as strong as I would like to be is really specific stuff on the immune system. What's the book title again?
The Immune System Recovery Plan, a doctor's 4-step program to treat autoimmune disease. And it's basically eliminate, test, all the stuff we've already learned, but very clean and comprehensive descriptions.
Oh, nice. Okay. I'll have to add that one to my list.
I already put that up on the tribe.
Oh, good.
And
thank you.
I just wanted to say Merry Christmas to everybody. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on the tribe. We're down, we rented a house, speaking of cold water, on a lake in Michigan. And it froze over the last couple nights. I'm standing there looking, okay, do I want to do a cold plunge? Do I not? And I can't jump in. I'd have to walk in because of how shallow it is in front of the house.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking about it.
That makes it a little more difficult. Sometimes when you can just jump and get it over with, it's easier than trying to walk in or ease your way in.
Yes. But the air temperature is supposed to be up in the 40s and 50s the next couple of days through our stay. So we're staying off the road into the new year, and Vic's going snowmobiling with Jim. And,
good. Tell Jim I said,
taking it easy for a week or so.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah.
So Merry Christmas to everybody.
All right. Merry Christmas, and we will talk to you again in the new year. All right, this is the last call up on the board. If you want to jump in, you can. We're going to go to Michigan. Joseph, what's on your mind today?
I had my Propagator's numbers sent over, but I thought of something else I wanted to ask you real quick.
Sure.
So my dad has cancer, and they don't think it's active right now, but it's still there. And have you heard anything about using ivermectin with cancer?
I have. Not only ivermectin, there is a whole class of drugs that are similar to ivermectin. They're all antivirals and anti-parasitic. So when they say, ivermectin was a horse dewormer, that's correct. That's the class of drugs these are. They work on parasites, viruses, and now we're starting to figure out that all of these things have some connection to cancer, and I'm not really clear on this yet. Are you on X?
I just opened an account not too long ago, and then it said that I never posted anything. I was just starting out, and then they said, we're canceling your account for misusing our content or something. I'm like, I haven't done anything.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
I don't know what that was about.
Yeah, if you get another account on here, look up this doctor, or maybe you can find him. He has a Substack, so you could go to Substack.com and search for him. His last name is spelled Makis, so it's William Makis, MD. He is really active on X. He's got like 340,000 followers on X. He does have his own Substack. This is all he talks about, is using ivermectin and these other drugs like fenbendazole and menbendazole with the same class of drugs, and just he tells story after story after story of stage 4 cancers put into remission with these drugs. And they're cheap, and they're safe, and they have very few side effects. It's a pretty incredible story.
Okay. Here's that info.
I mean, this is the kind of post. Here's one. Dr. Makis, my daughter just beat Hodgkin's lymphoma with these drugs, supplements, and a few other lifestyle changes. No chemo, no radiation. There's just story after story like that on his page.
I'll have to go find them and check it out.
Yeah, give that a look. He's got a lot of good information there.
Okay. So I was actually talking to Matt yesterday about the whole transmission thing real quick, and I told him that you always say, I don't know why you buy an 18-speed. And there's only one reason I put an 18 in my truck, because I have 264s, and it is like 0.3 of a mile an hour slower for first and reverse. And those are the only 2 gears I bought the 18-speed for, just starting out and backing up. I get off-road a little bit with this truck too, but...
Yeah. Well, that does seem to be at one point the biggest reason was to try to get those lower gears.
Right. So if you have the profit gauges up in front of you.
I do. Let's take a look at this. Good. Pretty darn good to me. So we're looking at January to November of 2024 on all miles. We got to remember, I'll verify, but the way we recommend you track all miles, correct? You're just not tracking paid miles.
Correct.
So on all miles, this includes all deadhead between loads. It includes going home, going to the shop. Anytime the truck is running, we track the mileage. And on gross revenue, all miles, $212 a mile. That's outstanding. That is significantly above the spot market average when you start figuring in empty miles. That's a really healthy number for 2024. But what's even better is you kept your costs down under $1 a mile, so your profit is $1.27 a mile. That's incredible. Now,
yeah, some of it.
I have to believe you're in somewhat of an unusual operation. Through November, you've only got 77,000 miles for the year.
Yeah, I only work 3 days a week.
Oh, that's kind of nice. Work 3 days a week and make this kind of money?
I should say, yeah, I drive 3 days a week, but I also built the shop a few years ago, so I work in there, and then we have 150 head of cattle and a bunch of land.
Oh, nice.
And do grass-fed beef, so...
That's a nice setup.
Plenty to do.
Yeah, I love that. But you're throwing off more than $100,000 a year in profit working 3 days a week. That's pretty nice.
And actually, I do give up 10%. My dad he's the owner of the company in my truck, and I give him 10% for the name.
Got it. That works out good. That's this is a great setup. You can't beat these numbers. I mean, I'm looking at your numbers across the board, and you're just not going to do much better than this. Your maintenance costs 14 cents a mile. That is outstanding.
Yeah, and that is, I do it myself, everything.
Yeah,
so
I can tell.
Have labor in that.
I can tell, and you have no fixed costs because all your equipment's paid for. So it's a really nice setup.
Correct. And so a penny is for truck washes, 2 cents for trailer repairs and trailer tires. So it's actually 8 cents on the truck.
Oh, so this is truck and trailer. This is a really good number then. Yeah, you are managing your maintenance better than almost anybody.
Yeah, the other thing is the fuel. I have a spread axle. So that's killing me, and I'm contemplating going to a tandem because I know it's a half a mile to the gallon, but boy, it's hard for me to do that.
Well, and sometimes it doesn't make sense. You've got paid off equipment. You've got really good costs right now. I'm not sure that I would rock the boat too much.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I look at it with even updating the truck.
Right.
I bought both truck and trailer brand new. It's paid for, but you look at the cost of the new stuff and me not putting a lot of miles, I'm like, I could do a lot of repairs and
you
still do
really,
well.
you really can't cost justify a new truck. Now, what you can do is say, hey, look, I make good money and I can afford a new truck and I want one. That you can make that decision all day long. But for you to look at it numbers wise, it wouldn't make sense for you to buy a new truck.
Right, and that's how I've looked at it. One other thing I wanted to ask you, I remember you said one time your percentage of revenue and what you thought was a good number.
Yeah, what I shoot
that you're
for.
Keeping.
Yeah, and if somebody does have equipment payments, we take that out before this number because it's not a fair comparison. Sometimes it is a very smart decision to go buy a new truck, but I want to compare how well are we controlling the cost of the operation per mile, not necessarily fixed cost. So if we take equipment payments out, then I like to see people get to the point where their net revenue is 50% of their gross revenue. So that would mean their total percentage of revenue, that column, would be 50% or less. Yours is 32%. That might be one of the lowest numbers I've seen. Matt's down there too, in those really low numbers. But that means for every dollar you are generating, you're keeping 68 cents of every dollar you generate. Only 32 cents is going to expenses.
Actually, on mine, on the very bottom, it's 40%.
Yeah, I forgot. There's another line down there. You're right.
The 32 is just on the variable.
Yeah, I forgot. I had to go down.
And if you look at like my fixed cost and tax license, that number, last year was 25 cents or something. But when you get low miles, that really goes up quite
per mile.
fast.
Right. So when I teach when I teach this part of the accounting, this is the big picture is if you want your fixed cost per mile to be lower, you have to run more paid miles. If you want your variable cost to be lower, you have to do something to directly affect those costs. Get better fuel economy, buy cheaper fuel, do your own maintenance, those kind of things. So that's why we separate fixed and variable, because you approach them differently and you look at them differently.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and even my fuel cost, reefer fuel, 2 cents a mile out of that, so that drops it a little bit. But.
Yeah, but for what you're doing and your setup, I'm not crazy about. I won't get too crazy. Your fuel cost is really good for what you're doing, and your overall cost, like we said, we could get your fuel cost down by speccing a perfect new truck, but we wouldn't get your overall cost down by doing that. You would end up, your cost would go up, not down.
Yeah, and my other issue is with the new stuff, I'm actually a tuner for Pittsburgh also. So I have a laptop, I can do a ton of stuff. But you get into that newest stuff, and I'm going to get lost because I can't do enough. I can't go and learn it all while trying to do all this other stuff. So my maintenance goes back up because I can't do some of this motor stuff.
Now, you've got this figured out, and this is kind of what I mean by people have said over the years, why don't you teach an advanced course? Yeah, and really the advanced course is the coaching program because it's so individual. You have figured out your advanced course on your own. You've got your operation down better than I can teach.
Yeah, and like you said, it has to be individual pretty much.
Right.
You can do an overall and get a close whatever, but once you get so specific in what you do, people say we don't drive much. I said, why do I want to drive more? If I do more, I'm probably going to raise my costs in other areas, and I'm going to go backwards.
No, this is what I mean, but that's what I mean. You created your own advanced course. And I can help people do that, but I can't teach it, if that makes sense. I can't teach this to a group, but if I'm working with somebody that's in business, I can help them create their advanced course. You did it yourself. And this is the kind of stuff you can achieve when you do that. You make $100,000 a year working 3 days. That's pretty incredible.
Don't tell anybody. I don't want anyone.
Yeah, this is just between you and I. We won't tell anybody else.
Yeah, no one else is listening.
That's right. Sometimes I wonder.
Quick at what 23 was.
Yeah. Here's something I wonder. Is anybody even listening to the SiriusXM app? How did it take me 2 years to figure out that I was on there?
Yeah, like Sarah said, they maybe just put it on not too long ago and then went and backdated all kinds of it.
Maybe, yeah. We'll have to.
But we were just talking about ivermectin, so that might get you kicked out.
It might. We'll see. All right, Joseph, Merry Christmas. And
I'll tell you.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to tell you something real quick.
Sure.
So last year was 217, 119, and 98 cents profit.
Wow. Great stuff.
That put me at 73 and 1,000 miles and $71,000.
Nice. That is awesome.
But the stuff you guys do, and 'cause you made the system so easy, my wife does it for me. I'm stay-at-home mom, 2 children. I'm like, well, I got to pay you for taxes, so
That's
you can
right.
do some paperwork for me.
Perfect. Love that.
And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thanks
Merry
for being on
Christmas.
today.
Yep. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we will talk to you next year. Let's go to Iowa. John, welcome.
Hey, Kevin. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas. What's on your mind today?
Hey, how could I get a copy, a written copy of Lori Martin Gregory's liver detox protocol? I was the one that was on the phone with you when that all started.
Okay.
I've listened to that episode several times, and I know there's something missing.
There is.
Because you start saying that you only need this, you only need that. I have 2 of those kits. I started one of them, but we had an ice storm go through on a Saturday, so I ended up not going to work that day. So that threw the last day off.
Oh, yeah.
Because I wanted to finish it on a Sunday.
So here's what I'll do.
How can I get a physical copy of how that procedure?
Here's what I'll do. And
because you can't find her online on the internet.
No, you can't. She
doesn't have a website, is what I should say.
If you think I'm controversial, she keeps a low profile on the internet for a reason. She's really controversial.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's.
Well, I even contacted the company that the kit comes from, and they don't even know her. The lady's like, I don't know who that is.
Right.
I'm like, okay.
She took their products because she really likes their products, and I understand why. I like them too. That's why this is the protocol I've kind of settled on to test. Here's what I just want to make clear. I'm not ready to release this protocol yet. But when we're done,
I know.
But I will put you back in the queue, and Angie will send that directly to you. And
that's great. That's what I'm at. Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, we have it in writing. It's clear, simple instructions, and we'll send it over to you.
That's what I need.
Yeah, it's step by step. Yeah.
Okay. And it's 3 days because she talked about 2 days. She went 3 days, only need 2 items. Then you needed this, and then you do this for a few more days. I'm like, wait a minute.
Right.
I'm missing something here.
Yeah. And if you go to the company, they have a 6 day, and I don't even like it. There's some things about it I don't really like. So I really prefer her method. And I may even make couple tweaks to her method. Nothing major. I kind of like her. So I'm pretty sure this is the one we're going to stay. Here's my biggest concern. And I want to figure out a way. I do worry that somebody with either a lot of gallstones or a couple big gallstones could end up in the emergency room. That's what I'm concerned about.
that's the risk I'm willing to take. Right. I'm going to come out and say it. I'm willing to guinea pig myself for about anything to make myself feel better than I currently am.
Yeah, and that's why we'll send it to you directly. You asked me for it.
Wonderful. I appreciate it, Kevin.
Yeah, you understand the risk. You asked me directly. We'll get it to you. Yep. You can try it. Yep. And at some point, when I'm done,
I have one of them. It'd be great if I can do it this weekend because, like I said, I tried to do the full 6-day 2 weeks ago, but got interrupted, and I'm like, I can't do the oil and the Epsom salt and go to work all on the same day. I know I can't.
No, that is a bad idea. Especially the first time you do this flush, make sure your last day is a day off. Now, you might find that it's not a big deal for you, but it's just better the first time you do this. Just make it a day off.
Did you read the side of the bottle on the Oxy? I don't remember what it's called. The Oxy something?
It's basically oxygenated magnesium.
Yeah, and it said I don't know if I should say what it says on the side of the bottle or not, but
yeah, go ahead.
It says if you don't have 3 to 5 bowel movements in a day after taking that, to take 2 more capsules, and I'm like, 3 to 5 bowel movements, because I didn't realize that's what was causing the extra movement.
Right.
And I read that bottle. I'm like, okay, makes sense now. Because nowhere in the protocol from the company does it say this may happen.
No.
And Lori kind of hinted around that it won't be explosive, and it was nothing explosive, but it was like I don't usually go to the bathroom like that more than once a day.
I could say for some people, explosive is a possibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure the last day could be very explosive.
Yeah. Things could get
once you throw in that 8 ounces of oil and a packet of Epsom salt. If you do the Epsom salt part of it.
On this one, there's no Epsom salt. On this one, it is the
all right.
Epsom salt basically is magnesium, just another form of magnesium. So on this one, you're not doing the Epsom salt, you're doing the oxygenated magnesium, which I had never even heard of before.
And are you using more of it than say on the 6th day?
You take 6.
And she says, and I think you and her said something about an enzyme also, and there's no enzyme in the an add-on.
So here, I can kind of walk you through the big picture so you get an idea.
I'll just wait until I get the protocol, so you don't reveal too much online or on air.
It's not a big deal. If I think I've warned people enough, and I'm just going to give you the quick overview. So they have a liver flush liquid product, and you dilute. I believe it's 2 bottles of that into a gallon of water. And on the first 2 days, you need to drink that entire gallon of water during the first 2 days. I'll tell you, that was not easy for me because I stay really hydrated all the time. And when you're really hydrated, trying to get another gallon of water in is not easy. I mean, I was working at it all day, and towards the end of the second day, I'm like, I got to start, gulping this stuff to get it down before the day's over with. And then on the first night, you take 6 of the Oxy powders, and
that's different,
right? And then you're also taking enzymes 3 times a day, like a handful of enzymes. I think it's 4 pills 3 times a day. For those 2 days.
That's different too.
Then the last.
So that's an add-on that you buy.
Right. Then the second night, before you go to bed, you do the oil, the 4 ounces of oil.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get all 4 ounces down, you lay on your right side in the fetal position. There's a specific reason for doing that. Kind of forces the oil through the liver gallbladder because they're on your right side. And then you go to sleep. So you do this right before bed, you lay down, and then you go from that to sleeping. Then you wake up the next morning and you take 6 more of the Oxy powders, and that's kind of like lighting the fuse.
Yeah, I can just imagine.
Right. So
I can see this is going to be a rough day, but I'm willing to do it.
You know, I definitely knew something was going on. I said I could feel my liver and gallbladder the whole time I was doing it. I knew it was there. It wasn't horribly uncomfortable. Getting the water down was a little bit of a chore, not a big deal. Getting the oil down is a little rough. And the next morning, you really do not want to have, any major appointment. You want a day off would be a better thing to do. But it's a pretty fast, fairly mild. You know, it's not a really severe detox. I've seen some detox that really make people uncomfortable.
And the 3 day seems a lot more simpler than the 7 day because I was packing it with me.
And it was way too complicated.
I was just pre-mixing the liquids into distilled water and putting it in a mason jar and taking it with me and then drink it. I had my alarm set to when to take it, whatnot. So 3 day would be a little more convenient. I think
much better, and I think we get the same results.
Good deal. All right. Well, I appreciate that, Kevin. Got a second for one more thing before I see what time it's getting to be, and I'm sure you're ready to. Have you heard of? I know you sell the Light Balance. I use it.
Right.
Have you ever heard of the Salt brand electrolytes?
I have not seen that one. I've seen a lot of other brands, but I haven't seen that one.
Dr. Ken Berry promotes the Salt brand. It's SALTT. And with you liking chocolate, they have one that is called Coco Loco. I don't like chocolate, for one.
Okay, so here's...
But I got the same... Okay, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is I really, really like Light Balance. And it's not to say that I'm looking at this one now. It looks like super high quality. I don't want my electrolytes to be flavored. I just like the fact that
I was just thinking of your chocolate addiction and being able to mix them, because I don't like chocolate. But out of all of the flavors that I tried, the chocolate was the only one I liked because it reminded me of Prairie Farms chocolate milk.
Okay. So here's
and I quit drinking chocolate milk and milk.
Yeah. So I am on a chocolate kick now. I'm trying to see how much dark chocolate I can consume in a day without seeing any negative side effects. So, and I'm pushing the limits. I want to try to push it to see what could happen. But when I make the hot chocolate, we have those sipping chocolates in the store now. When I make that, I just give it a big shot of Light Balance. And I like the fact that it's not flavored. It's just salty, so it enhances the flavor of anything I put it in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just simple. Yeah, I'm not messing around with, if I'm going to make coffee, I want this flavor. And then if I'm going to make chocolate, now I got to get that flavor. I just like the fact that it's just one bottle. It works really. That's the other reason I like it. I do. It works. I get results, and I know I'm going to get results.
Yep. I just was trying a few different ones just because I wanted something flavored for the day during the work week.
Looks like a great product.
Yeah, and they got a capsule also if you wanted just the electrolytes in a capsule form. But I just thought I'd run that by you. But I see it's almost 1 o'clock at my place, so you're about done for the day.
There you go. All right, we'll talk to you next year.
Put me on hold, and I'll talk to Angie about that protocol.
Thanks for reminding me.
Thank you.
My finger was hovering over the hang up button, so I'm glad you reminded me. All right. I'll put you back in the queue. You're in the queue now. Merry Christmas. And Angie, if you could get him that detox protocol. If you don't have it right now, just grab his email address or whatever, and we'll get it over to you. But I know we've got it. All right. We are going to wrap up today. I thought there was something I was going to talk about before I quit. What was it? Now I don't remember. Must not have been important. And it is time to wrap up the show for the year. We're going to finish right on time. That's pretty cool. All right. We'll see you next year. Have a great Christmas. Awesome New Year. And we'll see you on January 2nd, I believe. Be safe. Be profitable. Be fit and healthy. Always. do the hard work, and master the journey.